women have gotten into video games and they've made them for women. And I don't like this. This makes me f***ing mad.
According to the Entertainment Software Association, 45% of all gamers in 2010 were female, and in 2013, 42% played MMOs.
I think that it's girls getting in there and trying to change shit.
No, Asmon, it's the fact that you're getting older and starting to age out of the primary demographic these games are marketed towards.
So guys should have a complete monopoly on making games? Yes.
There is no more a pathetic group that exists in the world than aggrieved gamers online.
Trans people are like 0.6% of the population, but if you look at media representation, you'd think that they're like 10 or 20%.
According to GLAAD, in 2023, there were 33 trans characters in total across all TV shows between cable and streaming. Trans people aren't taking up a huge chunk of space. They're just taking up a space.
This is the standard conservative line, and it's been the standard conservative line for decades. They feel like things are forced on them by virtue of simply people existing publicly.
There's been a lot of excitement about bringing back slavery. It seems like we won't have to. If you steal from a store, instant mandatory prison time. I would do mandatory prison labor, and I would punish the people that wouldn't do it. But I would actually be the most pro-freedom president ever. In general, there was a big protest yesterday. People broke into the Capitol building, did all kinds of bad shit. Most reasonable people look at this and view it as a disgrace. This is the Gutex. Is there going to be civil unrest today? It is about as close to a call to violence as possible. That is almost verbatim what Aragorn has said in Lord of the Rings in Helm's Deep. There's a lot of people out there that get left behind by the system. You know, they get themselves into these like real deep conspiracy theories, right? Some people find Jesus, some people find Alex Jones, some people find Antifa, but the end result of all of these things is dogmatic behavior. It's a vicious cycle where like you get crazier and then more people don't want to talk to you, and more people don't want to talk to you, so you get crazier, and then more people don't want to
Oh wow, I can see immediately where you're going with this one.
talk to you because you're even crazier, and then you get even crazier than that.
Boy, has he changed a lot in the last 4 years. My God.
I think anybody who stepped foot inside that Capitol building yesterday should be charged. There is a process to changing how things are. Is it right to kill terrorists? Not without a trial. You don't just shoot people randomly. Who determines who a terrorist is? The person with the gun? What happens when they're wrong? Do you ever think about this? We have a system for dealing with people that break the law and are threats to society. Use the fucking system.
Oh, that's good. That was good editing. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, that was good.
I don't even know where to begin with how to describe Asmongold to someone who's never heard of him, the dead rat he used as an alarm clock, or the fact that he's one of the biggest streamers in the world, likely because of the mindset that would use a dead rat as an alarm clock and freely admit to it. I will say that if it weren't for his politics, he'd probably be the platonic ideal of a streamer. Someone who can spend hours a day enthusiastically yapping about anything, but mainly video games. In a similar experience to reconnecting with an old friend. But then you hear the political takes and it becomes less like reconnecting and more like getting cornered at the high school reunion. Still, the man dominates in the streaming space with 2.2 million followers on Twitch, 30,000 concurrent viewers, and over 4 million subscribers on YouTube, despite never really changing up his core format, where some streamers will grow into new settings, bigger guests, more production value, fancier shot callers. Asmongold's brief expansions have found him ultimately reverting back to his starting point. What bits of Asmongold I've encountered myself are the clips that get passed around on social media, so I want to see whether they were a good representation of what he actually believes.
I will say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Or if he's just been taken out of context all this time. And so, I watched his streams for a week, and I'm gonna tell you what I learned. And if you enjoy my suffering, please subscribe to my Patreon. No obligation. Starting in 2026, I'm gonna start providing more rewards there than just the opportunity to give me money, which I do greatly appreciate.
Oh man, another day, huh? Another fucking day.
We begin where we'll end, in Asmongold's attic, and much like the Shel Silverstein poem, though the house is dark and shuttered, I can see someone inside looking out.
Oh!
That's good. That's good.
Oh god! Oh shit! Come to your name of VTuber without the letter B. Iron Mouse, literally in 1 second. Yeah, Iron Mouse, Fillion, Silvervale. Who is this retard? Anyway, it's gotta just be engagement bait, right? It just pissed me off. I saw it, right? Well, that's true. Yeah, being fat is disgusting. But, you know, unfortunately, Twitch doesn't agree with me.
If you were looking for some kind of filter between the mouth and the mind, for better or worse, you're in the wrong place. Probably should have warned you earlier, but
when do we boycott Twitch? I mean, you are right now. There are millions of dollars that get evaporated from Twitch because they have to pay for my web hosting.
It surprised me to find out it's true that the web hosting for a major streamer is this expensive. However, that's a cost Twitch definitely understands and accepts, given that they've had more than one opportunity to drop Asmongold, and CEO Dan Clancy has a well-known deference for Hassan, who's on the opposite end of the political spectrum. In the lead up to talking about Hassan's China trip, Asmon watches a video about a fancy Huawei laptop.
If you search 1989, it explodes.
Which segues into a conversation about his broader view of capitalism.
So the U.S. doesn't practice free market capitalism? Wait, no, of course we don't. Like, I mean, not in an ultimate sense. Why would anybody? Oh God, it's a dishonest retard. I don't even want to read it. It's gonna make me mad. If you don't have a regulated free market, you won't have a free market. You're gonna have a few guys that get in control of it, and then now they're the regulators.
Based.
Why do you think that we have to have a rule against monopolies? Do we have to have a rule against, you know, selling products for free? No, we don't really have a law against that because it's not business. It's not business efficient to do that.
There are rules against setting prices too low because companies seeking to create a monopoly can just starve out competition.
I didn't really get a lot of sleep last night, if you want me to be honest, so I'm probably having a few misfires. I want the Chinese government to get obliterated? Well, then you should hope for the Chinese people to do that. Only the people can hold their government accountable, right? You know, we can't go and change it and then assume that it's going to get better, right?
Tucker Carlson's morning newsletter mentions Hassan's trip to China.
Uh-oh, look who it is. It's speak English, right? So it's just electric dog.
Asmon actually calls it out as disingenuous.
This is right-wing stuff that's disingenuous in the same way that Hassan can be about left-wing stuff. Don't defend Hassan. I'm not defending Hassan. I'm just defending what I think is true. And I think that if you have to attack people based off of things that aren't true,
I almost want to give like a prediction for Asmon, but it's like the safest prediction ever. I would say in terms of problematic political views, this might surprise some people. Asmon's are like down on the list of priorities, not because the views are not abhorrent, because many of his views are abhorrent, but he does the thing that it's like, he does the irony thing. He does the fucking irony thing. It's like nihilism mixed with irony. The point is to be really over the top and always kind of layered things with a bunch of irony. That way, if anybody attacks your beliefs, you can retreat to the irony and be like, oh, I'm just being ironic. And if you get a ton of support for your hot take or whatever, then you can claim credit for it. So it's just, that's this whole shtick. And there's like a lot of people that do that online now, where they go way over the top. They're deliberately shocking and provocative, not because they're saying something profound, but because the point is to shock and provoke people. And me personally, I just find that content to be so tiresome. I don't understand. It's just not, that stopped being interesting years ago. There was a point in American culture where I would say that stuff resonated for good reason, because we spent a good few decades, at least like 2 solid decades, with the religious right in this country having so much influence. They were so censorious. They pushed back against anything they felt was obscene, which was like 80% of the arts. And so back then, stuff like South Park, for example, served as an essential counterweight to that decades-long censorious attitudes and behaviors. So being over the top served a purpose back then, but that wore out years ago. We're so well past, you know, once social media became prevalent everywhere, once it became ubiquitous, that cat was out of the bag. And so the people that are still doing the whole, like, I'm going to say the most shocking thing because I know it's going to turn some heads, it just feels like such low-hanging fruit. It just feels so fucking lazy. And I don't understand how people are not tired of that shtick, you know? But that's the thing. Like, I feel like you don't really know what his true political beliefs are. Like, I really don't know what he believes in, because any given thing that he says, it's like 50-50 that he's being over the top just to get clicks. I don't know if Asmon is a right-wing ideologue in the same way that Hassan is a left-wing ideologue. I think Asmon follows a certain internet culture unthinkingly. Yeah, in terms of who has more conviction or who has a more kind of tightly defined ideology, there's no question that Hassan. I mean, we don't like his ideology for the most part in my chat, but he has an ideology that's pretty strictly defined. You could argue it's contradictory in some ways, given how he lives his life, but it is an ideology. It is an ethos. Asmon's ideology seems to be a little bit more flexible, given whatever the internet is yearning for. I mean, Hassan said something recently that I thought was very accurate when he pointed out that, oh, it's pretty convenient now. Asmongold is starting to criticize the Trump administration more and more. That seems pretty convenient. He seemed to be all in on Trump around the time of the election and certainly directly after the election. And now that Trump has completely collapsed, and his MAGA political movement is in complete free fall, now he's doing all this content now that's like much more openly critical of Trump. It's like, okay, this feels like a bit of a grift, you know.
Maybe the reason is because you're actually wrong. I think that
Dasvidanya says still really bad and dangerous, like Asmon is really bad because it serves as, no pun intended, a conduit for his viewers to actual right-wing ideologues. It's bad because, yeah, I think Asmon probably has an overwhelmingly young and male audience. And I don't like saying, it feels kind of icky saying like, he has too much influence with the youth, or, you know, like I'm not saying that he needs to be like shut down or anything needs to be done about it necessarily. But I think he is a very influential guy. Like if I would have been a teenager and my worldview was informed by Asmon, not great.
That sometimes people like to misinterpret things intentionally.
Yeah, I feel, sorry, I keep pausing, but like now I sound like Tipper Gore in the 90s, you know. We can't have kids listening to rap music. But just to be clear, like I'm not advocating for Asmon to be deplatformed or censored or anything like that. But it is a little alarming. Like if I had a young boy and I found out that they were like avid Asmon listeners, I don't know what I would do.
And then get mad at them for that.
The president of Syria and ex-Al-Qaeda member Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani met with President Trump at the White House, which is a sentence that would probably kill the average person from 2004.
You know, they say keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And apparently that's what's happening. This is crazy. This guy is a head-chopping ISIS guy. Everybody has, you know, a rough past, right? I mean, things happen. I think it'd be nice if we just didn't have an endless war with the Middle East. And if that means we got to invite a few head choppers over to the White House, that is what it is.
This is pretty racist, but you're probably not going to convince anyone that it is, given that Jawlani and members of his government have actually overseen executions.
It's cheap. You just, what do you got to buy them food? Like, that's it?
Okay, but that actually is racist. A lady at a wrestling show got mad at one of the wrestlers, leading to her getting forced away by him.
Fat Karen versus a big ass dude. There is no need to be going around and touching people. You don't need to be doing that. You can't understand the mind of a fat person. It just doesn't, like, there's no logic to it, right? It's just it's probably maybe he had food. Maybe she thought he had food or something.
The fat jokes are going to be a frequent occurrence.
Of all the things to focus on in terms of being critical of other people, their weight is just, it should be like number 100 down the line. Like why, you know?
You will not be spared. Someone posted a meme in Asmongold subreddit about Sydney Sweeney's jeans ad, if you recall that controversy.
Yeah, I don't know how this happened.
He's literally just making grade school jokes. Yeah, it's just, it feels like a regression. It feels like an emotional regression. It feels like you're just going right back to like lunch, like 8th grade lunch. Like this is very similar to the kind of conversations that you would expect to hear in a conversation amongst a bunch of 8th graders whilst sitting down and eating their lunch. And Asmon is, how old is he? I'm going to guess 35. He's 35. Oh my God. That might be the first time I've ever like accurately guessed something. It's a bit depressing. You know, it's a bit depressing. Like who did the youth have to influence them in the past? You know, like Socrates, John Lennon, Jim Morrison. Maybe that's not a good influence. In today's youth, we have Asmongold. Okay.
was so stupid.
But that's not important. What is important is Asmongold's perspective on intelligence related to someone's susceptibility to manipulation.
So it's easy to take advantage of like a middle intelligence person, and it's harder to take.
You guys are laughing about Socrates, but he got fucking executed for corrupting the youth, corrupting the minds of the youth.
Advantage of a smart person, and it's also harder to take advantage of a dumb person. And they never question themselves, and anything that reaffirms what they already believe about themselves, they will instantly agree with it, right? And so because of that, you can prey on people's biases and you can take advantage of them that way.
Depends on how you qualify it, but generally speaking, there's no level of intelligence that immunizes from being taken advantage of or scammed, and there's evidence to say that being smarter would actually make it more likely. I want you to hold this in your mind as we go along.
Particularly when a statement feels fluent, easy to process, and familiar, we tend not to focus on the details, instead go with the gist. Unfortunately, there are many simple ways that purveyors of misinformation can tweak the presentation of their claims to increase a statement's fluency and familiarity. Call it arrogance, but I don't think you could get me to join a cult. Now, I know everybody says that, but for me, I think it's true. You could Facebook me with fake news. I have been Facebooked, but I think I have just the right amount of skepticism and open-mindedness. I think I have just the right amount. Like, I think I'm in a good sweet spot. Hutch would definitely join an AI cult. No.
And smart people can do that too. They can, but I think that with big groups like Reddit, it's very easy to do that because of the groupthink that it kind of reinforces. And I think that's what happens in a lot of cases.
Some news about the LGBT community in China.
Apple removes 2 gay dating apps in China. I've always said this, and I'll say it again.
Gay.
Every company, all they do is they make money. China hates gays. Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know if they hate gays, but my understanding is that they're not, you know, as progressive as necessarily.
Hey, who the fuck is this guy on the screen? I know that guy. Look at that. Let's go.
We are.
The Chinese government is getting worse about gay rights, even as the people are slowly becoming more accepting.
I never even think about whether a guy is gay or not, right? I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe that's weird, but it just never even comes into like my fucking my orbit of thinking, right? Yeah, who cares? Yeah, who gives a shit?
Steam announced new hardware for 2026.
A big black box. Yes, exactly. And what we have here is a small black box. Dreams come true. My best advice is not to buy one of these necessarily. It's not to buy a pre-built. It's to build your own. And my best advice for people that are buying their own, there are 2 things not to skimp out on. Don't skimp out on your power supply, and don't skimp out on your motherboard.
My knowledge of tech is limited, but I think this is good advice. Someone made a dating sim and included Asmon as a character.
Okay.
I have forbidden you to wash your hair.
What?
I do not wish to see what little hair that remains get washed away.
Are you kidding me?
I'm tired.
Who did this? Sounds nothing like you. That's okay. I mean, again, I don't really care, okay?
And then he gets to a post about someone fanficking Hollow Knight characters as queer.
Tell me that you have issues with your sexuality without telling me, well, actually, you are telling me that you have issues with your sexuality. What a weirdo. Like, putting all of these sexualities on different characters in a video game. This is one of the really weird things that, like, a lot of these, like, gender warriors do, is that they try to rewrite everything to include themselves. Whitewashing? Well, I'd say this is rainbow washing.
I'm sure Asmon won't do something just like this before the end of the week.
I mean, I don't think anybody cares about this kind of stuff, right? The people that do are kind of weirdos. What's next? Smurfette is trans. You'd really be surprised.
Matthew McConaughey and Mike Cocaine apparently pulled an Ariel and sold their voices to an AI company in exchange for human legs.
Conduit, I just want to say, buddy, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop pausing so much, but I just want to say, I think, I keep saying it every time, but I'm just so impressed because your editing is just very noticeably gotten so much better. And you only started doing this within the last year. And I think you're a go-getter. I think you're in a really fun time in your creator arc because this is a really special time when you're first starting up. You get kind of like, I don't know if you're having a similar experience, but when I was first coming up and figuring out how to like present my videos in a certain way, and I would spend a lot of time like getting the timing down right, you know, like doing stuff like trials videos. I had a ton of fun editing my old trials videos and turning them into like, God, I'm so proud of some of those old trials videos because I would spend hours editing those things. But the point is like you're having fun while you're learning. And so that, I feel like that shows in your videos. Like it shows that you're learning and you're improving pretty rapidly. And it shows that I get the sense that you really enjoy putting these videos together, which is what you want, I think, when you make videos. Like you want the audience to feel your passion for whatever you're making a video about.
And Asmon takes it as an opportunity to talk about people on Twitter who dislike AI.
There's like a few weirdos on Twitter that are like constantly at war with AI, and they think that somehow they're going to win. AI is inevitable. Here's how you know that there are only a few people that actually care. That's how you know. It's because you don't listen to what people say, you listen to what they do.
I think this is an imperfect argument because it assumes people playing know it uses AI and that people who oppose AI have equally absolute opinions about it.
Never, because people are retarded. They're going to say things they don't really believe. They're going to say the way that they think should be, the way they think things should be, rather than the way they are. AI is a massively positive and
Is that Witcher 3 music in the background?
massively popular thing. And don't let a handful of furries on social media convince you otherwise.
A Moroccan immigrant in Portugal mugged someone, which is proof that Europe is being overtaken by criminal foreigners who all need to be removed.
I would never want to go to Europe to vacation.
Europe.
And the reason why is that the police don't protect you.
The murder rates in every European country are drastically lower than in the United States, and overall crime.
I would highly recommend people take trips to Europe. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Your America brain will just explode. In America, it's like, here we have a statue of a man who lived over 50 years ago. You know, here's a building that was built 75 years ago. And then you go to Spain and it's like, here's a castle that's existed for like 600 years. What? Your America brain just goes nuts.
Crime has trended downward the last 2 decades.
So yeah, that's Africa, brother. I mean, like, well,
And Asmongold misses someone doing a racism.
what was it? Morocco is like, yeah, that's in Africa. It's at the top of Africa. Yeah, that's in Europe, bro. Like, what do you mean? Poland, I would go to. Okay.
He watches a video about China making robots.
I mean, we're obviously going to make robot slaves that do our activities at home for us, and I think that's a good thing. By the way, this is a great thing. Now, instead of because we won't have to bring back slavery. A lot of people have been talking. There's been a lot of excitement about bringing back slavery.
Who said that?
It seems like we won't have to because we're going to have robots instead. And I don't know what we're going to do with all those people. Maybe we're just going to kill them.
And a clip of people making Lord of the Rings jokes about racial crime statistics.
Orcs only make up 13%.
No. Hey, I didn't say it, okay?
Meme the other day where it was like, the Shire's losing population. Should the hobbits more? Should we import goblins?
And that allows me to segue into a story about actual immigration. Greece is trying to test immigrants to confirm their ages. One aspect of it, which supersedes the others, is a wrist x-ray that doctors have criticized as having up to a 2-year margin of error. And opting out automatically lists you as an adult. So there's no way to know if these numbers are accurate.
What the fuck? Only 10 were actually kids? Ugh. So that means they're going to end up being sent to a high school with kids and they're an adult?
Only if they're going to star in a CW show.
It's always like that? Yeah, that's why you can't let them in. You should.
The thing with Asmongold, guys, is his whole thing is like, what, did you get triggered? I'm sorry, did I say something that triggered you? Are you fucking triggered, bro? That's the whole thing. That's it. There's really not much more to it than that. The whole thing is like, oh, I'm sorry, did I say something that triggered you? And so there's one thing that you can do to neuter the whole thing. It's just like, don't get triggered. Just understand what it is. Understand that the intention is to upset people. And if you just kind of roll your eyes a bit and realize what the shtick is, it's pretty straightforward. If you don't get triggered, that's it. You know, like, just don't get triggered. Don't let the shit bother you. I find Asmon endearing, though. I like his videos despite not being a Trump guy myself. I just think like Asmon is, I don't know, there's about 50 creators that I think that cause more problems than Asmon. but he has this massive platform. He's insanely relevant. And so,
Didn't let him in. I say it all the time. I don't know why they do that. And to appear not racist? Yeah, I guess so.
And now we've reached Hassan in China. Police Story is such a good movie, you guys. Lonerbox gives the consensus opinion here.
How moronic do you have to be to go to China, a country that you're clearly planning on doing propaganda for, to get your narrative contradicted on fucking day one, where some cops come up to
God. That's what happens. You can never be wrong. And when you can never be wrong, you end up never being right.
Hold on to that one, because it's time for Trump and Epstein, with the emails released by Democrats after the government shutdown ended.
Dean Weathers says the new Epstein story is 100 times bigger than Watergate. That's way bigger.
Asmon's perspective is that Trump is in the wrong, but he probably didn't do anything, but both parties are bad, and the emails Democrats released are misleading, which means Trump is bad, but he isn't a pedo. If that sounded confusing, let me massage your brain until it is comfortably smooth. Asmon says he's willing to believe that Trump is implicated in Epstein's crimes if there's evidence, but he's not willing to accept the evidence. Here's Asmon's reaction to the revelation that Trump spent time with the victim at Epstein's home for several hours.
That doesn't mean that he knew that the person was a victim at all. Like, just because you interact with somebody that was a victim doesn't mean that you know the details of what happened to them.
Trump in this email, a quote, dog that hasn't barked by Democrats on House oversight.
It's interesting that he agrees with the release of the emails as a tactic to pressure Trump to release the files, even as he doubts their legitimacy.
I'm glad this came out, even though I think that there's a high probability that it could be fake, misleading, or misunderstood, or misinterpreted. Yeah, I think they should release everything completely unredacted besides victims' names and obviously photographs that could be problematic. Oh, it could make somebody look bad? Too bad. You shouldn't have gone to an island with a pedophile. But like, if you know who the victims are, you know who the survivors are, obviously you word filter search the name Trump, right? Can't you just do that for the victims and then just omit those two?
The process of redaction is much more intensive to guarantee there's no way to retrieve information that's removed through various
guys, can't the FBI just do a Control F situation? Like, come on.
recovery techniques in the paper and the data.
I don't think there's hard evidence that commits Trump to doing anything weird with Epstein. If there was, I think they would have already released it. And if there is, I think that there is as much, if not more, hard evidence against Democrats doing it too. So coping so hard? Well, I'm not coping. I'm just being logical. I don't care. If Trump was in the Epstein files, I would want to know about it.
Osvidani with $5. Anytime I see old Euro cities, I think of Ralph Fiennes describing Bruges from In Bruges. I haven't seen that movie still.
Conspiracy theory is that I think that both parties have a piece of the Epstein files. And because of that, they don't want to release it because I think there is a third party. My opinion is that the most likely candidates for that third party are Israel, China, Russia, in that order, that have the entire Epstein files. And if these files are released in a partial amount, they will then be released by this foreign third party in their entirety.
It's always Israel. At this point,
yeah.
No, I don't think I'll ever actually be numb to that.
These mails are nothing new. They were already released in 2024.
These emails were not released in 2024. Separate info from the Epstein case was ordered unsealed by a judge in 2023 related to a Ghislaine Maxwell defamation case, but did not contain much information not already known to the public.
Virginia Giuffre has testified multiple times that President Trump did nothing, and she never even saw him at Epstein's house.
Additionally, Greg Price, whose Twitter he's looking at here, is a conservative journalist who got in trouble in 2022 for editing the audio of John Fetterman in his Senate debate to make his ability to speak sound worse, which is the exact same criticism Asmon has of these emails for their redactions.
So it's bullshit? Wait, what? You can tell that he's lying by his eyebrows, like some merchant or something like that that's going to sell you snake oil. I don't understand. It's obviously not a White House cover-up. I mean, was Biden covering it up for 4 years?
Biden wasn't covering up the case. The case was still open for Ghislaine Maxwell's trial until her last appeal was denied in October of 2025. He did not have the authority to intercede in the case to reveal the evidence, and doing so could have given Maxwell grounds for an appeal.
I mean, what are we talking about, a White House cover-up? I mean, if anything, I feel like Trump is really kind of a piece of shit. It's like, if you can't even find any evidence of Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew, like, why are you going and dragging their name in the mud by saying this if you can't even prove it?
Prince Andrew, there were formal allegations. There were very specific allegations that that Epstein trafficked At least one woman. Wasn't that Virginia Guffrey? Wasn't that whole thing with her?
That's crazy. The problem is that we can all sit around and theorize on a reason, but we don't really know what the reason is. That's the truth. No.
There's a whole series on Amazon. There were season 1 and season 2 called A Very British Scandal. And they're 3 episodes each. And the first one was about this MP in England who had a secret gay lover and then tried to have him killed. And it's like really fucking good. It's with Hugh Grant and that younger actor who played Q in the new Bond movies, in the more recent Daniel Craig Bond movies. So that was season 1, and then season 2 was about I don't even know the principles in that one, but it's based on a true story. And then they made a very royal scandal. That was another 3-episode arc about the whole Prince Andrew Epstein stuff, and it was really good. If you guys haven't watched it on Amazon, definitely worth it. You can binge it very easily. It's good, very good.
Nobody really knows, and I think that's why nobody trusts him.
There's a difference between the standard of evidence to convict someone of a crime and the standard necessary to recognize with reasonable certainty that until exonerating evidence emerges, the most likely explanation is the correct one. I doubt Asmon would say that O.J. Simpson didn't kill 2 people just because the glove didn't fit. Asmongold reads the GOP Oversight Committee's Twitter response to the Democrats and uses their reasoning to dismiss the emails.
So they released something that was already unredacted, and then they re-redacted it again, and they're trying to think that it's new. Are you seriously? Oh my God. It's a clown show. Yeah, there's no way.
And the fix is in.
If you are intentionally redacting a name that was previously unredacted publicly, you're doing that because you're trying to mislead people.
I'm going to put a pretty big if at the start of this just because I might be misinterpreting what I've seen, and this isn't about the victim herself, but what Asmongold is saying about these emails. If I've read what Virginia Giuffre has said correctly, she claims to have only interacted with Trump at Mar-a-Lago when she was employed there, and a couple of times at parties, and said nothing bad happened between them. However, the emails released suggest that she talked with Trump for hours at Epstein's home, which would contradict her testimony. Giuffre isn't alive to correct the record, but if Democrats were willing to lie, as Asmon suggests, it would be to their benefit to leave the name unredacted, as it would undercut the testimony frequently cited to say that Trump did nothing wrong. But they didn't, at the wishes of the family who have condemned Republicans for revealing her identity and not Democrats for being dishonest. I won't speak to the rest of the sexual assault accusations against Trump, because even if they relate to the broader context of Trump's relationship with Epstein and how you should interpret these emails overall, I think that might widen the focus too much from what these initially released emails say specifically.
I think people aren't really understanding what happened here. The victim might be afraid. She's dead. She said that she didn't have any problems with Trump and Trump was fine. She went on record and said that.
Again, these emails contradict her testimony, not the other way around.
So the reason why they redacted her name is because if they didn't redact her name, it would have shown, obviously, that this is the person that had already cleared Trump of wrongdoing.
And again, it would have been more beneficial for Democrats to leave the name unredacted, but they did it anyway per the wishes of the family.
Why is Trump not releasing all of it? I think that is a great question. That is an incredible, amazing, great question. And I think people should be asking that all the time.
Asmon will not consider whether this conclusion might be based on where he gets his news from.
How do you solve this problem with the corruption? You don't. The reality is that this problem will probably never go away.
And that is why you shouldn't try to better your life, because you might fail, so it's easier to frown.
We will find out the nature of the Epstein files when we are on Social Security, if Social Security still exists by then.
You must all go and spread the word of frowning!
Because this is never going to go away until everybody that was involved, and everybody who was even involved secondarily, is dead.
Pretty soon, everyone will embrace sadness, and there'll be no such thing as smiling!
And I think even then, we won't really know what happened. And do you not feel bad for telling people to vote for him? No. No, he's done a lot of things that I agree with. And he's also done things that I disagree with.
I feel so exasperated watching this because it feels like I should be trying to convince Asmongold to change his mind about these things. But if he comes away from hearing about these emails still thinking that Trump is preferable as the most powerful person in the world, I don't know what else I could say.
But I think that both of them are inadequate candidates. That's why I didn't vote for either one of them. Even though I am much more aligned with Trump, that doesn't mean that I totally agree with Trump. I just view him as the lesser of two evils.
So Asmon thinks that Trump is the lesser of two evils. What would Asmon actually want if he were president?
I would want to use the military to deport every illegal alien in the country. I would want to bring back insane asylums and put crazy people in insane asylum. And I would reduce foreign aid by about 80%. Maybe not 100%. The goal would be 100%, but the beginning would be 80%. I would completely remove any illegals from the census as well.
Illegal aliens are on the census because otherwise resources would get misallocated and areas with illegal immigrants wouldn't receive enough to provide for those with legal status either.
I would even take people that were
I don't think Asmon gives a single flying fuck about that.
Residents of the country, if they were not net positive taxpayers and they were not performing an essential job, I'd deport them too.
This would basically trap immigrants already in America in their jobs, leading to greater abuse, while also being ignorant of historical data that shows immigrants yield greater returns on their labor than what they cost to take care of.
Oh, I'd add 2 additional tax brackets for people that are wealthy, for people that are making above $5 and $10 million.
That is a good idea.
Oh, I would double the amount of the money that we put on policing.
Functionally useless, but it'd probably feel nice. The issues with policing aren't directly correlated to funding. They're related to excessive force, corruption, and overall relationship with the population they are entrusted with.
If you steal from a store, instant mandatory.
Okay, so I'm going to say something's probably not going to be very popular, but it's the truth. As far as I'm aware, there is, as far as I understand, a correlation between hiring more police and a reduction in crime. That is what I understand to be true. I'll take some time to look up that metric while we let the video play. Conduit says, no, that's true. I've heard that, or I've seen that demonstrated in data many, many times whilst I've been scrolling on the feed. But you used to hear a lot, especially during like the defund kind of peak, like defund stuff during 2020, that hiring more cops does nothing, but the data just doesn't support this claim. When you hire more police to serve communities, you do commensurately see generally a reduction in crime.
Prison time. Even if you stole a paintbrush. I don't want to live in a world where people steal. I don't want to live in a world where there's violence, hostility, aggression, and turmoil. So just put them in jail. Simple. I would make it to where every prisoner had an extended sentence by about 30 to 50%, and they could work in prison to reduce their sentence that got increased back down to what it was if they wanted to work in prison. And I would do mandatory prison labor, and I would punish the people that wouldn't do it.
This is a violation of the 8th Amendment for cruel and unusual punishment, the 13th Amendment because it's not punishment for the crime they're in prison for, the 14th Amendment because it's a violation of due process, probably the 5th Amendment for double jeopardy, the 9th Amendment just because it's fun, and the 10th Amendment because this isn't a power specifically given by the Constitution to the president, unless in this hypothetical he managed to get this through Congress.
Would you be president? Would you be authoritarian? I mean, I think people would say that I was, but I would actually be the most pro-freedom president ever. Wouldn't reducing the root problems that result in people stealing prevent people from stealing instead of just adding more people to the prison industrial complex, which is designed to make them repeat offenders? Well, they wouldn't have a chance to be repeat offenders because they'd be stuck in jail forever working. And if they're a repeat offender, that's great. Now we have another worker.
I guess we know who was excited about bringing back slavery then.
The idea that poverty causes this to happen is a complete removal of an individual's agency. If you give people more opportunities and more abilities to do things and have a degree of ownership in their own life, then yeah, there are going to be less crimes. So I agree with you. But there will still be crimes after that goes away because there are people that commit crimes that do have money too. Have to hold people universal healthcare. Yeah, we'd have universal healthcare because we'd get rid of all the people that are causing problems.
People causing problems, the way Asmongold implies, are not the main impedance to universal healthcare. These ideas contradict each other. You can't create a society without violence and turmoil while aggressively enforcing laws with maximum punishment. You simultaneously need a populace willing to go along with and enforce that system, which creates the dehumanization that leads to greater violence. All the while, they need to bear the increased cost of social services that would face more strain from fewer people being able to pay into it.
Did you ever steal previously? Yeah, I've stolen tons of things. And you know why? It's because I knew I wouldn't get in trouble. Better social services? Yeah, absolutely. I'd give people food stamps. We'd give people, I would invest a lot into autonomous driving cars. They will reduce.
Do you know something funny, guys? Like, in a general sense, not talking about specific policies, in a general sense, Asmon is pretty close to the median voter. Whatever you feel about that, he's pretty close to the median voter. The median voter in 2025 are very much open to social democratic policies, expanding government benefits, expanding healthcare subsidies to within limitations. They want more money to go towards things like veteran services, Medicare, Social Security, and they're super also like focused on things like crime and illegal immigration. That's like kind of the median voter. The issue, or one of the big issues, is there's a problem right now with perception. There's a perception that America is rampant with crime, and this is, I think, almost entirely because of social media. Cops, the show Cops back in the day used to kind of serve that role for people. Cops in like the news, if it bleeds, it leads, with like a heavy emphasis on crime, gave people the impression that America was this hellscape that was just being ravaged by criminals, violent criminals. And then you look at the data and you see that violent crime has been steadily declining since the 90s. We are, I think, currently at the lowest rate of violent crime ever in the country, I think. And yet people have this perception that's totally incongruent with reality.
A number of different industries that are massively, like, I think, a tax burden.
I have no idea why Asmongold thinks this. Maybe there's some logic to it I'm not seeing.
Do you steal when you were an adult? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, multiple times. Tons of times.
Wait, but then why?
How about social parasites? Citizens can be freeloaders too. There are going to be social parasites, and there are going to be useless eaters, and there are going to be retards. And you know what? That's fine. We're always going to get some of those. That's the way it goes. How would you build up universal income? By taxing corporations that utilize a tremendous amount of automation and then making them have to help pay for it. And if they don't want to get along with that, then I wouldn't give them access to the...
I feel like that's a really inefficient way to do it. Like, I feel like, here's my hot take. Tell me if you guys agree. Here's my hot take. I think corporations should be taxed dynamically dependent on their profit margins. There's probably an economic theory. I'm probably not coming up with anything original right now. But if you're operating a business with like 50% profit margins, or like McDonald's is 30% profit margins. 30% profit margins, and they're still paying their employees minimum wage. That's fucking crazy. Meanwhile, you have like ma and pa, bodegas in New York that are operating with like 2% margins. That's what I would do. I wouldn't put like a cap on your profit margins, but I would tax corporations more if they're, depending on how high the margins are.
The American economy, and I would heavily tariff them.
Why would they automate when they could just use cheap prison labor in that case? And why would the American market be so valuable at that point when the population is spending so much more of its wealth and resources on maintaining the strict social systems that are implemented?
I have a lot of other ones that are, some of them...
They're only taxes on earnings, not revenue. Well, now I feel dumb. I'd have to think about that a little bit more, but yeah.
Them are a little bit more not stream sufficient, right?
I am incredibly worried about what those could be. But I guess it makes sense given his response to a TikTok compilation of women losing their jobs in the next video he watches.
Total Karen obliteration. Absolute Karen destruction.
These aren't Karens by any stretch of the definition. All they've done is say they lost their jobs. Actually, I don't know what Asmongold's definition of a Karen is. Later on, he explains the attitude that makes someone a Karen, but he'll still apply the moniker to basically every woman that crosses his screen in an unflattering way.
I think that there's a lot of people in these PR, marketing, and fake jobs at these companies, and the companies are starting to realize, hey, wait a minute, we don't need to pay this girl to come here and drink boba tea for 8 hours and then complain that somebody said something that made her mad. And they just fire her.
As Asmongold will come to understand over the course of this video, that is incredibly not what's happening.
Elon Musk took over Twitter, fired 80% of the staff, and nothing changed to the product. In fact, I think the product got better.
Twitter did not get better. Monetization of posts has created an incentive structure for people to post the most salacious rage bait possible, like the one Asmon got caught in earlier, in order to get more views.
I would say, and tell me if you think this is a hot take, but I would say that, what's the word? Functionally, in terms of the application features, I would say that Twitter has added a lot of really good stuff since Elon took over. Now, I know how that sounds because there's more to this. Let me finish my thought. I think the idea of allowing like much longer posts, I think that was good because people were just doing these like 25 tweet threads. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, just, you can have the 280 character limit, but then you click on the tweet to expand and you can read the rest of it. So that's just more efficient. It sort of runs contrary to the spirit of Twitter. Like the whole thing that Twitter was in the beginning, the whole thing that it was like 140 characters. That's all you get. And like that was the DNA of Twitter. We're obviously well past that with these, 50 long tweet threads and these kinds of things. There's been a new feature that they added recently where similar to the For You tab, where it gives you kind of like a curated feed of stuff that it thinks that you'll like. You can do that now with your following tab on mobile. Like on mobile, you can't do it on desktop yet, but on mobile, if you click on the following tab, you can filter it to most recent or popular. That's a really good feature. So you can do the more popular posts from the people you follow. And then that's the stuff that shows up. That's a really good feature. I like that. The recent embed thing that they did with YouTube videos, that's really good. Tell me if you guys think I'm wrong. We're like, that's really good. So like now when you post the link to a YouTube video, it doesn't just serve you kind of the thumbnail of the video that you're watching and then deprioritize that post in the algorithm. Now it auto plays from the YouTube video, much the same as the autoplay feature for videos that are native to Twitter. That's a really good feature. They had embeds before, but not like this. Not like this. What are some of the other features? I would say like community notes, but that predated Elon. But community notes is a really good feature. And I feel like I'm missing a few others. So like functionally, in terms of I would say probably like most of the features that it's added, Twitter has actually done a lot of like positive change since Elon took over. Now, how much of that is him directing his engineers to execute a particular idea that he has, and how much of it is his engineers just kind of doing stuff and adding stuff on their own? I don't know. But I will say that the experience of Twitter overall in terms of the content has gotten about 20 times worse. This is why I wanted you guys to let me finish my thought, because even though it has added a lot of features that I think are really good, the experience of Twitter, particularly when you go to the For You tab, that is a cesspool now. That is just, it's so bleak and depressing and awful and just bad. The For You tab is just like, first of all, number one, it's dominated by right-wingers. It's really obvious that they put on their thumbs on the scale to boost right-wingers. And number two, there's a lot of really kind of dark and dystopian content, like a lot of like minority violence, a lot of accounts that are devoted to just posting videos of black people assaulting white people. It's not dominated. You're too stupid to understand equality. Well, I mean, we could just do a quick little glance. Like when I go on For You, and I can't, here's another reason why the Twitter experience has gotten so much worse. I can't scroll the For You tab. I can't put that on the screen and scroll because I don't know if fucking porno is going to show up. And I am not watching porno on Twitter. I would tell you guys if I was. When I see porn, I try to scroll as fast as I can so the algorithm knows that I don't want to fucking see porn when I'm scrolling through Twitter. If I'm on Twitter, I don't want to watch porn. If I want to watch porn, I will watch porn. I will go to a porno site and watch pornography. If I'm on Twitter, maybe I'm out in the world. Maybe I'm sitting next to an elderly Korean woman sitting in line for the fucking DMV. And now there's like a 50-50 chance that I'm going to stumble on fucking porn. Just like scrolling through Twitter. There's porn fucking everywhere. And here's where I will join the anti-AI Luddites that are in specifically my Twitch chat. The AI slop has already gotten so out of control. I don't know what social media companies can do to clamp down on that. I really don't know. But there's all kinds of it's like 20% AI slop now on the For You tab. But if you stick to the following tab on Twitter, I would say that a lot of the features that they've added have been pretty good. The change that they did to the blue check mark was horrible, was fucking terrible. And to Conduit's point, with the monetization now, Elon just straight up incentivized the worst engagement farming clickbait nonsense. And it's all because of the blue check mark and monetization thing. Like any reasonable person could have predicted that exactly this thing was going to happen.
Pissed me off. I saw it, right?
Musk has had the website intentionally altered when it doesn't give him enough attention, or it corrects his unsubstantiated claims. For example, when he said Joe Biden stranded an astronaut on the International Space Station. Also, Musk himself has said that he would unban at least 2 accounts that were removed due to posting CSAM.
Every single other business owner in the world saw that. It's bot crazy now. YouTube is bot crazy too, but YouTube didn't fire 80% of its staff. So is Facebook.
This is where it starts to sink in what's actually happening.
So 13 million people have been laid off in America. How many people are in the US workforce? 10%. Oh my God. A little bit less, but still. Holy shit. The reality is that these decisions are made in order to maximize shareholder value.
That is true to an extent. The priorities and obligations of corporate boards are to seek greater returns on investment, but the goal of a CEO and the goals of a corporation are not always in complete alignment. The average tenure of a CEO does not match the average lifespan of a company, so the goal is to maximize the amount of money they have by the time the CEO leaves, which means that they can ignore long-term strategy in pursuit of short-term gains, which then become the next CEO's problem. For an example of this, see the 2008 financial crisis.
People that work in Amazon fulfillment centers, that's probably the least fulfilling job that you could ever have. People take these jobs because they have to, not because they want to.
Yes, but eliminating the job doesn't solve the problem of a person needing a job. It's just reducing their options.
They're trying to plot a trajectory for where their business is going to be. So right now it's doing some people's jobs, and later on it's going to be doing everybody's jobs or more people's jobs.
And again, as Asmongold is about to see, they aren't just letting go of people who don't do anything.
A perfect example of this that we saw earlier this year was when Microsoft let go of Ron Buckton.
That's right. They fired because they didn't need him.
Suddenly discovered to be a slacker after 18 years of promotions? Or is it that executives looked at a spreadsheet, saw his senior level salary, and decided that number was too big?
I do think that, to be fair, I'm in general in favor of AI, but I do think they're probably overshooting and probably firing too many people too quickly. But I think that the inevitability of this is not to be denied.
Earlier this week, that was talking about the fact that last year there were 1.2 million graduates for 17,000 jobs.
Then why the fuck do we keep importing people?
Without validating the premise of his description, because that's not how immigration works, put simply, expanding the population isn't a zero-sum substitution.
The thing about job displacement in this new, nascent era of AI, it's actually not an option to develop these tools, to innovate this technology, and to displace millions of jobs without something to address that displacement. Because if you displace 50, 75% of the workforce and replace them with automation or AI systems or whatever, who the fuck is going to buy your product? It is just literally not an option. If you're, the heads of tech, the heads of industry, the heads of all these Fortune 500 companies, and your job is to sell some kind of a product to the consumers, and then you fire all the consumers who no longer have income, who's going to buy your product? What does that even look like? It's actually not an option. I tend to think that AI regulation is probably going to be a top 5 issue in 2028 during that presidential campaign. UBI, yeah, I just don't know enough about UBI and what would an economy look like? What would that economy look like with a UBI? I have no idea. I'll leave that to smarter people.
Of laborers. The necessities of immigrants provide the demand for new services that allow companies and social programs to grow their customer base and funding.
There used to be a retard that would sit there with a screwdriver and screw a bolt into a tire and get paid the equivalent of $75 an hour, live in a beautiful house, have every benefit that he wanted, have a family that he supported, 2 cars and a boat, and go on vacations.
This is what happens when propaganda is too effective.
That's a bit overly stated, but in many ways, working class people, in the post-war expansion, could afford things like houses a lot easier than we do now, but those houses were a lot smaller and they weren't spending as much of their paycheck on other stuff either. So There's some truth to it, but like he's massively overstating
This belief is based on the visualizations used in ad campaigns merging with stories of expanded workers' rights. Things got better, but the reason we have that imagery is because that's what people aspire to. If they already had it, it wouldn't work in advertising.
What do we do about it? Well, you have to tax companies that are using automation in a way that, you can redistribute the money into the population. But like, it's not going to happen. I think we're going to have to bring back somehow like slavery or something like that. Like, I don't know, maybe feudalism. It's one or the other. Maybe both. Or you could have a plague. Maybe all three.
And once that's done, we can finally eradicate all the Puerto Ricans on the planet! What do you say?
Wall Street literally rewards human suffering.
What is that from?
And
well, yeah, of course.
What is that cartoon? What was that?
There's a lot of money you can make off of people being sick.
Some of you may own.
I went into the fucking the oncology place. I felt like I was walking into the Hilton fucking hotel with my dad. He got pancreatic cancer. And I walk in there, I say, oh, there ain't no way they're curing this shit.
It's not like that as a show of wealth. It's because cancer treatment is awful and treatment centers try to make things as comfortable as possible for what minimal relief it can provide.
She is right about everything.
Pancreatic cancer is, number one, really difficult to detect due to where the pancreas is in the body. It's a bit more hidden. And so by the time you detect pancreatic cancer, this is what I understand. By the time you detect pancreatic cancer, it's typically already stage 3 or stage 4 and is spreading to other organs. However, they're making a lot of really exciting breakthroughs right now with vaccines. They're coming up with cancer vaccines that are showing a promising amount of efficacy. They've discovered that the COVID vaccines reduce the risk of cancer. Did you guys hear about that shit? If you got vaxxed, it has reduced your risk of getting cancer. Vidania with $2. My guy wants Tsarist Russia. Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Everything, and it doesn't matter. Nobody knows how to think. Everybody is going to be turned into a battery. And that's just the way it's going to be.
I'm not sure how to square Asmon believing in AI as something that's good for humanity, while also seeing it as something that will help facilitate the destruction of people's general happiness.
I think that if things keep going the way that they do, we are going to have a eugenic effect of the lowest IQ people literally die because they can't take care of themselves. No way, ChatGPT will take care of them. Well, it will tell them, no, you don't want a soda today. You want to drink bleach. And they'll be like, really? Okay, all right.
And as you can see from the smiling mask behind Asmongold's head, the next video he watches is an anti-Semitic right-wing nutjob. And I don't mean that as an insult, I mean in his video about the Inquisition, he asserts anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. You can check out this guy's video if you want a full breakdown, telling us why the Crusades, which killed millions of innocent people, were good actually because at least it was in the name of defeating Muslims.
Ridley Scott, the director of the film, is an atheist, so we can see why he deliberately decided to portray things this way.
I don't know if that's true, that Ridley Scott is an atheist. Is that true? I don't know if that's true, you guys.
The events are held as a staple of why we need separation of church and state.
Asmon can recognize that it's propaganda, but much like Hassan, he basically leans into it anyway.
By 900 AD, Islam had expanded, by conquest, all the way to France and southern Italy.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
They turned the Mediterranean into an unsafe hellhole. This crashed the European economy and made—
Wait, so you're telling me that all the way back then, they were going out and fucking with boats? And now they're still going out fucking with boats? 1,000 years! Been dealing with these guys fucking with boats.
According to the UN, an estimated 32,000 people have died since 2014 trying to reach Europe by boat.
Islam's so-called Golden Age came at Europe and Christianity's expense. This is the true reason that many consider the years 600 AD to 1000 AD a dark age for Europe.
The label Dark Ages is a misnomer based on the premise of this period in history not having a significant number of written records, which in itself is also not true.
Here's how historian John J. O'Neill describes the circumstances.
John J. O'Neill is not a historian. I couldn't find any actual mention of him on the internet outside of the ebook PaxTube is citing here. Oh boy, burning cross imagery.
Who's controlling Jerusalem right now? I actually don't even know.
Hassan doesn't know what the Western Wall is.
Israel?
Asmongold doesn't even know where it is.
Jewish people have it now. Israel has it now. So all this was for fucking nothing. I'm sorry, but like I cannot get over the irony of the Muslims and the Christians fucking fought and killed each other over Jerusalem for like 1,000 years, and now the Jews have it. Neither of us have it. It's the Jews that have it now. But I do think that it seems like the Crusades were not a universal, like one-dimensional moral evil. I think that seems to be the case.
Nope, millions died. The threat to individual people on the ground does not justify the actions undertaken in the name of conquest and empire by kings and popes. Lastly, Asmon gets triggered by a video game review.
Eurogamer is totally captured by identity politics.
Oh, what a disappointment this game was. You know, it's kind of cool, you know, but man, this should have been... It's so hard, you know, for a game studio to secure the IP rights for these massive franchises and then spit out a world that is as rich with side characters and story as, you know, like Elder Scrolls games. Is it too much to ask? Like, how do we justify the fact that we don't have a game with the scope of like Witcher 3? You know, Witcher 3, that's like the best part of that game is the side content set in the world of like Game of Thrones or Star Wars, you know? Fallen Order is great, and Jedi Survivor is amazing. Jedi Survivor is awesome, but that's like a Dark Souls kind of game. Like, this has a lot of side content, but it's just so like, I don't even know. Like, what are the big complaints about Outlaws? It's like, it's just kind of like, you know, it's a game. It's like a high 6, low 7, but it's Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's like, it's fucking Star Wars. Like, same thing with Avatar. Avatar, technologically, Frontiers of Pandora, that game is fucking gorgeous. The actual Pandora, walking around in Pandora is fucking awesome. But what are you actually doing in the game? I don't even know. It's like a pared down kind of version of Far Cry games. You just kind of go from place to place doing these really simple tasks. Like, it's not very rich with story. I don't know. This game was a letdown. Outlaws got better after launch, but it's still like not great. You know, maybe it's worth it getting it if it's like $10 on sale, but it's just not great.
And progressive values. And all these people are losing their jobs, and we're going to send them all back to McDonald's. All of these different media companies, they are all biased. None of them should be trusted. The only people you should trust are individual YouTube creators, and even them you should take with a massive grain of salt, even including me. I said there's never a book in cursive. I don't need to read that. But I never read books either.
It was the same thing you were talking earlier, where like people grind for games because they don't have anything else going on in real life.
And that was just like, day one.
Silver 2 to Silver 1, I was like, oh fuck yeah, dude, I'm so sick. I'm killing it in real life.
You feel like you're not wasting your time.
Exactly.
Like, there is no better feeling than to play video games all day and to go to bed and know you did something. And I felt that way a lot.
I agree.
But the problem was for me is I turned like 27 because I was like, man, I've been doing this for like 10 years nonstop, and my friend just got married and my other friend has a job, and I have
I agree. No better feeling in the world. When a new game comes out that is just so engrossing, you know, that happened a number of times this year. Dune Awakening, Death Stranding 2, obviously Arc Raiders, Expedition. When you know you have like just 8 hours free, this is the benefit of not having kids. You just have 8 hours free, and you know you're going to spend that whole day just grinding in this game that you love. I still love that shit. I'm 42 years old.
I've got this new mount, you know, it's pretty cool.
You said a quote years ago that really fucked me up. You're on Facebook, and you see all these middle-aged women.
Borderlands 4, you guys, if you haven't played that game, is fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome. And then eventually you just kind of hit a wall. But I got like 120, 130 hours out of that game. Yeah.
Yeah, posting about the Minions movie, taking their kids out to the movie theater, and then you realize those middle-aged women were your classmates in high school, bro.
It was a real reality check. I had to lay down after that one.
Yep.
Yeah. And well, I think that also, like, a lot of these games, right? I mean, they do kind of, like, they're super cheerful, they're really happy, and so I think that they do have, like, a big appeal to people that are kind of, like, feeling empty, or they don't really have something going for them in real life, and then so they play these games and it makes them feel better. Usually whenever I'm laying in bed, I'm just on my phone. Like, video games, to me, it's like, oh, that's work, right? Like, because usually, like, what I do is I'll just read Twitter and then respond to people on Twitter. I'll be like, yeah, you're fat, something like that, right?
Well, that's a strong indicator for how today's gonna go. Guys.
That's pretty fucking depressing. That does not seem like a happy existence.
Guys, trans in bathrooms.
ATSTs! ATSTs!
How is it that we had this right for 2,000 years and now we're literally reinventing the wheel?
We did not. Bathrooms segregated by sex and or gender are a modern idea.
What did you, like, watch movies growing up, or are they like the people get bullied in men's bathroom?
Trans people do experience higher risks of harassment and assault when using public bathrooms.
If you make people use the bathroom that their sex is at birth, right? Then you're also going to have women that transition to men walking in the women's bathroom. No matter which way you cut it, you're going to have people that look like guys walking into the women's bathroom.
That is correct.
The best solution is just to have a third fucking bathroom.
While this notion is common, it does not solve the inherent problems for either party. People who
where's he going with this one?
Want bathroom bans are trying to push trans people out of public life altogether, and trans people wouldn't be any safer because the very premise makes it easier to identify them. The issue is
Conduit's not here, but I disagree. We have a shitload of gender-neutral bathrooms in California, and there's, like, never any problems that I'm aware of. Seems to be working pretty well in California. We have legislation in California that mandates gender-neutral bathrooms, I think.
Isn't trans people. It's people willing to harass others based on assumptions that aren't even correct a lot of the time. But maybe they're all just Karens, right?
Like, ultimately, bathrooms are supposed to be, like, gender safe spaces, right? I mean, generally.
That was the original justification for sex-segregated bathrooms when they were established, because men didn't know how to handle women in the workplace because they believed they belong in the home.
This would have never happened if women couldn't vote. Man, so true, brother. So true, absolutely.
And that was the original mindset.
Like, I don't think the world has to become comfortable with these people. I think these people have to be comfortable with the world.
There's a slim degree of truth to this, insofar as pushing for rights is a slow, painful process. But the same can be said in the exact opposite direction, that personal discomfort is not brought
Tiffany, thank you so much for the tier 1 membership. Appreciate it, buddy.
A justification for slim degree of truth to this, insofar as pushing for rights is a slow, painful process. But the same can be said in the exact opposite direction, that personal discomfort is not broad justification for exclusion. The streamer Valkyrie had a minor controversy over her wardrobe.
Like, I wouldn't wear, like, if Balenciaga sent me something, I would wear it if I thought it was comfortable, or I liked the way it looked.
It's beautiful, isn't it? The Balenciaga.
You get all these strings attached to you, bro. And you get enough strings attached to you and you become a puppet. Said high-priced merch is just a way to liberate retarded people from their money. Yeah.
I think Asmon just indirectly called her the R-word. Hassan's back in China again.
Okay, what is he wearing? I don't know what nobody knows. He's in another country, but I'm still on his mind. What can I say? It's because I play video games a lot. And I play their video games a lot. What I think is even funnier.
Also, third bathrooms would be risky because it would force trans people to out themselves. They could easily be assaulted in there. It paints a target on their back. They probably won't use it. Again, I don't know about this because we have a lot of gender neutral bathrooms in California, and you don't hear about. I mean, maybe it's happening and I just don't hear about it. Maybe there's a lot of people getting assaulted in these bathrooms, but they're everywhere in California.
Here is that a lot of my.
I'm missing the point. Okay, tell me what the point is. If I'm missing the point, then. Boxtrapper, is risk of assault really the issue though? Isn't it whether or not people feel comfortable sharing a bathroom with someone else based on their sex or gender? That's certainly one of the issues. California is much more accepting of transgender people than deep red Missouri. I mean, that's fair. Yeah, that's true.
Viewpoints on the way video games should be made and the types of things that should and should not be included.
Who is asking for trans-only bathrooms? No one's asking for trans-only bathrooms as far as I'm aware. It's gender-neutral bathrooms. I regularly use gender-neutral bathrooms. I just walk in there and use it. There's not this assumption that the people that use those bathrooms are trans. At least not in California. I mean, like, even where I live, which is certainly one of the most liberal-leaning sections of the entire country, I would assume. Los Angeles County, even where I live, like, I don't see a lot of like obviously trans people. It depends on where you are, it depends on how busy it is, it depends on how packed it is, but it's not like there's still like trans people still represent a very small percentage of the country.
Who did in video games? You know who agrees with me on that a lot? Chinese people.
No, it's the Chinese.
What did he just say?
And the types of things that should and should not be included in video games. You know who agrees with me on that a lot? Chinese people.
No, it's the Chinese government. As will be pointed out, media is heavily regulated and censored in China.
Well, but they put people in work camps and they harvest their organs. And I said, I already like them. You don't have to convince me.
So Asmongold's logic is Europe is bad because the cops don't do anything. China is good because work camps and organ harvesting.
I don't know if they do or not, but either way, it's pretty edgy.
While watching a Steven Crowder video where he mentions Asmongold, we get to hear his policy on lying.
I hate lying to people, to be honest with you. I love deceiving people, but I hate lying. So I love telling people the truth and making them believe that it's a lie, but I hate actually having to lie. I feel like it's like cheating. Because, like, there's, like, the game of deception. People are like, well, you wouldn't need a dog, would you? I'm like, I need a person. They're like, you shouldn't have said that. I'm like, yeah, probably not. But it's true.
Okie dokie.
Go on a show? Maybe one day I will.
You do not need to go on Steven Crowder's show.
And I don't like actually saying A is B, but I would maybe say, you know, a lowercase a is capital A, right? Because I feel like that's a little bit more exciting for me. It's more entertaining. It's more engaging.
Following another
a little bit lost
conversation about gay people in China, Asmongold looks at the trailer for the new Black Ops.
I've heard Call of Duty actually sucks dick.
Asmon has his own idea for what Call of Duty should do in its next game.
So I didn't play the campaign. I saw some really bad reports of Black Ops 7 campaign, but the multiplayer felt phenomenal. When I played it, I had a ton of fun with the multiplayer. I played it for 1 weekend. That was it. Played it for 1 weekend. That was it. And I had a ton of fun with the multiplayer. The problem with Black Ops 7 is not the polish in terms of the MP. It's the formula is stale. There are way too many games that are pushing the envelope and truly innovating. Arc Raiders, cough, cough, Arc Raiders, cough, cough. They're doing some really innovative stuff. And I think we have advanced past the standard kind of 6v6 TDM DOM kind of situation. Like, I think Call of Duty is in serious trouble. I think they need to do something. Like, in my opinion, Call of Duty has not like really massively innovated since COD 4. And that was enough to carry the franchise, I think, for quite a few years, but it's just not enough anymore. That you need something like, you know, Warzone was really polished, a really fun experience, but they weren't really innovating, you know, like they were following the trend. And I know they have a lot of talent at these studios. It's just, I think top brass just doesn't want to take any risks. And so they don't really change all that much. I mean, like, it's kind of comical at this point. At this point, Call of Duty is just a yearly rotation of features that they've basically already done, or borrowing features from other games. Like, you could say, I guess, Advanced Warfare, I guess you could say that kind of innovated in a way. But when you get down to it, the current product is really not that dissimilar from COD 4. Like, it just hasn't really pushed the envelope in a really long time. So they need to do something. They need to bring some kind of fresh take on MP, and they need to hop on the extraction shooter game. They need to get on that. And they need to hire a separate studio to work exclusively on their take on extraction shooters. And they need to do something like I mean, DMZ is there, but it's not, I mean, who gives a fuck about DMZ? They need a standalone extraction that really pushes the envelope and offers something very unique. We've had extraction shooters for a bit now, but they've all been pretty hardcore games. We haven't really had like casual, dedicated extraction shooters. And then arc raiders came along and just fucking reinvented the wheel in so many ways.
Told you guys they should have gone with my 9/11 idea. They should put Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, we're done listening to that.
I would have the people jumping out of the building.
Thankfully, Asmongold has the right idea about what age of consent means.
18 is barely legal, and 15 is under that by like 3 years.
Quick math? Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't she see, like, I mean, that's clearly not, that's not even barely illegal. That's just illegal. Most of America is 16? Well, it's not 15. Like, what are you even talking about? You're not even arguing. That could be what you're saying too. Like, I don't even, what? 15.
I mean, I would say America generally has pretty good laws when it comes to the age of consent. You know, like 2 16-year-olds having sex should not have to register as a sex offender. Is that a thing? I feel like that's a thing. It's not a thing. Well, that's what I mean. That's what our laws are, right? 2 16-year-olds having consensual sex should not be like registered as sex offenders. But if you have like a 21-year-old and a 16-year-old, then you're starting to get into some shitty territory.
Today are less mature than they were 40 years ago. Well, yeah, of course. If you look at history, people very, very commonly, for like 99% of history, had kids before 18, okay? This is an established fact. Everybody knows this.
Another common misconception based on education that centers primarily on the ruling class. It was not that common, relative to our modern understanding of sex education and contraception, to have a kid before you were in your 20s. There are obvious health risks involved, but also the fact that whether you were a boy or a girl, odds are you were living on a farm, and farms demand work. But he has the exact wrong idea about why this conversation is happening.
Is that they think that...
My mom started popping out kids pretty young. She was, I think she was 18 when she got pregnant with Brandy.
Megyn Kelly is trying to create a future, like a future argument for why it's okay that some political person she was attached to,
Trump,
was in a relationship with a 15-year-old.
It's Trump.
That's, I think, kind of that's why I think people are mad about it. I don't really see a reason for it. There's no purpose. It's totally counterproductive, and it doesn't help her in any way.
Now we're forced to hear about what Asmongold thinks of the Super Mario Brothers sexuality.
Like, Bowser is super rich, he's really powerful, he's huge, and then Princess Peach always just happens to get kidnapped by Bowser. Are we really believing that? Yeah, she wants that big lizard dick. I'm just saying, guys. Yeah, Mario's getting cucked. He is. Mario's getting cucked. That's why I said that you could prove Luigi had a bigger dick than Mario. Princess Peach is always getting kidnapped by Bowser, but you never see Daisy getting kidnapped.
I prefer Hornet being gay to this perversion. Activision released a statement about AI usage in the new Black Ops, and you'll never guess what Asmon's perspective on it is.
If you are one of these sucking retards that likes to complain about AI and, oh, AI is so bad, I hate AI, I'm against AI, AI is so horrible, you know what you're gonna be? You're gonna be a sucking retard for the rest of your life. And everybody is just going to laugh at you more and more and more.
I'm starting to think that people being gay actually crosses his mind a lot, whether or not he's actually into it.
Yeah, where's all the women, guys? This game must have been from a long time ago. You know what's so fucking insane? Is the fact that this actually happened. You guys ever think about that? Like, this shit actually happened.
Asmongold really knows how to sound like a stoner even though he doesn't do drugs.
It's actually so sad how badass video games used to be. And I'm just going to say it.
Oh,
these are games that were made by guys for guys.
Are you ready for Asmongold to turn his gamer brain up to 11?
This is when gaming used to be good. And now you have these video games that are made to just be slop that's enjoyable to everyone.
My scalding hot take is that there's never been a better time to be a gamer than right now. We are living in a golden age of games. I think the reason why some people think probably think that's a scalding hot take is because the volume of games that are released every year are orders of magnitude. What the kind of option, like back in my day, you had to walk 2 miles uphill in the snow to a GameStop, and you would get there and there'd be like 20 options to buy for the Xbox 360. Now there's just insane volume. Like, Steam releases I don't know what the numbers are now, but like 3 years ago, Steam was releasing 10,000 games a year. And so there is a lot more, technically there's a lot more like really shitty, contrived, uninspired slop. But in terms of the real gems that you get, there's like 10 to 20 every year. Just must play, insane value, high polished, wonderful story, wonderful characters, you know, whatever. There's just so much like incredible stuff that's going. And I think technologically we're at kind of a weird place because a lot of the game's performance these days is dependent on the graphics card's ability to upscale. So there's like new AI upscaling kind of stuff like DLSS and FSR, and so a lot of games are optimizing for these upscaling techniques, and so there's negative trade-offs there, but that technology will just continue to get insanely good. So I would still argue that that's good technology. Like frame generation is really cool. If you can play a game like Red Dead 2, which, you know, came out on PC like 4 years ago, but it's still just one of the most graphically beautiful games ever. And you can play the game in ultra settings and get like 150, 160 frames. It's just that the costs to purchase the cards that can do that kind of stuff are so prohibitive right now, that it's pretty rough for people with like mid-tier machines. But yeah.
No, no, that's not how it works. This has happened to every single video game, is that women have gotten into video games and they've made them for women. And I don't like this. This makes me fucking mad.
According to the Entertainment Software Association, 45% of all gamers in 2010 were female, and in 2013, 42% played MMOs. Since then, the total number has risen to 48%.
What? Is this true?
Software Association
video game is that women have gotten into video games
MMOs?
and they've made them for women. And I don't like this. This makes me fucking mad.
According to the Entertainment Software Association, 45% of all gamers in 2010 were female, and in 2013, 42% played MMOs. Since then, the total number has risen to 48%.
I am having my culture appropriated. Like, I don't go to the salon and say, why is nobody listening to Rob Zombie in here? And we don't do that. We don't do that to them.
Dead I am the sunshine, and sun sipping through the trees, strangle and a breeze. That song still bangs. I literally just listened to that song yesterday when I was driving in my car. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to fucking play Dragula and turn the volume up. God, I get so fired up every time I hear that song.
This is what we used to have. Okay? This was the peak. And I think that it's girls getting in there and trying to change shit.
No, Asmon, it's the fact that you're getting older and starting to age out of the primary demographic these games are marketed towards.
No, 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 no. Absolutely fucking not.
To show how games used to be good, he compares the Warlords of Draenor cinematic from World of Warcraft to Dragonflight.
Yeah. Because this shit used to be so badass, and now it's cringe.
The premise Asmon is working from isn't men dominating the industry, it's nostalgia.
It's a bunch of a Karen game design. That's all it is. Literally Karen game design.
What does Karen mean here except...
I think he's kind of repurposing Karen to be, you know, the archetypal blue hair social justice warrior. I think that's what he's doing. I think he's trying to repurpose it.
Problem you are blaming on imagined women.
And so guys should have a complete monopoly on making games? Yes. And if girls want to make games, they should make their own games. You have Stardew Valley. You have Animal Crossing, you have Pokemon. And I'm not saying always, I think there's plenty of women who write great stories. But the difference is that whenever you're writing something like World of Warcraft, this is a story about big, hairy, muscular men killing each other and dying for honor, glory, tradition.
Spoilers about the ending of Warlords of Draenor if you care about that. But the main character in the cinematic he watched earlier dies refusing to take any responsibility for his own actions, revealing himself ultimately to be incredibly weak and petulant.
You failed me! You made me what I
Don't let yourself get tone policed by these annoying fucking Karens. This is a masculine thing.
Watch him counter someone's transphobia with what I think qualifies.
I just want to say, I've been saying for years, and I feel like I've been ahead of the curve on this one. Because I was saying even before 2014, there is no more a pathetic group that exists in the world than aggrieved gamers online. These are the biggest fucking babies and losers that you will find out there. They are more pathetic than like political, like partisan political kind of communities. I've been ragging about aggrieved Call of Duty players for so long. Like, there's such a toxic element within the Call of Duty kind of fandom that's existed the whole time. They've always been so fucking pathetic.
Applies as its own transphobia, but in a way that's still inclusive.
The Mass Effect 3 controversy, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Remember valid criticisms of child touching mentally ill people isn't hate? I mean, I don't think that every person that is a transsexual is a child toucher. I mean, like, that's insane. Why would you even say that? I don't really think that you can change your gender, like, not entirely. Like, obviously, if somebody wants to go through the requisite procedures and everything, I'll use their preferred pronouns because I don't want to create a conflict with somebody.
Honestly, I'm fine with this. Obviously, I have a different understanding of sex and gender, but if we're talking about the broader public, tolerance should be the acceptable baseline. It even gets covered in a World of Warcraft cinematic.
I have learned patience, tolerance.
But you can obviously, you know, dress different ways and get surgery and then, you know, act and behave and be seen as a woman in society. I think that's true.
Here's a good example of why I find Asmongold interesting. He just clearly laid out gender presentation as a social standard of expectations with regards to femininity and masculinity. But even with that understanding, he falls back on gender as a binary because biological delineations between men and women, even though trans people aren't even trying to take that away. In the simplest terms, without trying to step on people's personal definitions or present as an expert myself, it's just people who want to exist at certain ends of the spectrum between masculinity and femininity and be recognized as such.
So really, I don't know why there's such a weird distinction for people to have, right? And there's no point to being mean, I agree. Yeah, exactly. The reason why people...
My head is spinning right now because I feel like Asmongold's brand is like 90% about just being mean, right?
People get hyper obsessed with trans stuff is because it's always being put in their face.
And if I had to guess, I would say the reason this is an issue that comes up a lot for Asmon is that his regular news presents it to him as being one.
So they see a new show comes out and there's a trans character. Trans people are like 0.6% of the population. But if you look at media representation, you'd think that they're like 10 or 20%.
According to GLAAD, in 2023, there were 33 trans characters in total across all TV shows between cable and streaming. Trans people aren't taking up a huge chunk of space. They're just taking up a space.
It keeps getting forced on them.
If the compromise you have to make to enjoy a product made for a broad audience is that someone has a lifestyle you don't necessarily understand or agree with, but isn't directly harming anyone, that's a you problem to get over.
This is the standard conservative line, and it's been the standard conservative line for decades. They feel like things are forced on them by virtue of simply people existing publicly. So something that was very common that you used to hear a lot in the 90s, I don't know if people are still saying it. There's probably still a lot of people saying it in certain pockets of the country. But back in the 90s, it was really common to hear someone say, I don't care if two men want to have sex. Or they wouldn't quite say it like that. What two men or two women do in the privacy of their own bedroom and their own home is not my business. I just don't want to see it. When I'm walking down the street, I don't want to see two women holding hands or kissing. Like, that was like the standard line. And then we kind of moved away from that. They said the same thing about race mixing too. Yeah. Interracial marriages. Yeah. If they're walking down the street and they see two queer people holding hands or being affectionate in any kind of way, they feel like it's being forced upon them. Or if a trans character shows up in a narrative, in a video game story, they feel like it's being forced upon them. But there's no way that these people can just exist in the world in a way that doesn't offend people like Asmongold or other people that are socially conservative. You don't have to stare. If you see two gay people walking down the street and it makes you uncomfortable, you can just look away. Like, you don't have to stare at them. Like, what exactly is being forced on you? That's like saying white people are forced on you because I see a white person walking down the street. It's just so silly. It's so unbelievably silly.
Now it's Irrelevant's turn to have his reaction to Lonerbox's reaction to Hassan's reactions reacted to by Asmongold.
The thing that everybody accused him of doing with Israel, which is like some paid propaganda, social credit.
Every Jew is being paid by Israel to promote Israel. I learned
what?
This on Instagram Reels.
Well, I don't think...
Is he trolling?
Asmon is being serious. I have concerns if his Instagram algorithm is feeding him anti-Semitic posts.
There are some other things that I learned on Instagram Reels too, but I don't think the chat's ready for those yet. I saw an AI translated speech of obviously Adolf Hitler on Instagram Reels, and it had 200,000 likes. And I was thinking to myself, that's a lot.
Why is that your Instagram recommendations?
I always joke about this, about how wars get announced on my days off. I took a day off yesterday and a war got announced. How does this keep happening?
Knowing that, let's see what Asmongold's reactions to the bombings in Venezuela are.
Now, do I totally agree with the regime change? I don't know really if I do or not. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on it one way or another, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not totally against it, though. Only the people can hold their government accountable, right? You know, we can't go and change it and then assume that it's going to get better, right? If their economy is built off of basically sending illegal drugs to our country, then it is our problem.
The Venezuelan economy is built on oil. Once again, propaganda takes its toll as Asmon wonders why the military has such a hard time with forces that are seemingly insignificant in comparison.
I always wonder, like, how much of that is like a forced problem and how much of it is...
Hutch, my theory around trans obsession is that the right thought they were holding their ground on gay marriage, but they lost that abruptly via a kind of undemocratic way, so they cling to this. Yeah. I feel like that is the commonly accepted interpretation of things. I think it's a combination of that and the fact that trans people, there was a push starting around 2014. And as much as it pains me to say, Caitlyn Jenner was probably a big reason why there was a much broader social push for acceptance of trans people. And I think a lot of that started because of the Caitlyn Jenner stuff, because that was like big news back then when she started to transition. So I think it's a combination of the fact that the Supreme Court just ended that debate. You know, gay people in this country can get married now, and there's nothing that the Republicans can do to legislate against that. And so it was like that, which was probably a crushing loss for social conservatives, religious conservatives. And then the fact that trans people were more visible and there was a broader push for more acceptance. And so it's like they're lashing out against that. Yeah, I feel like that's a commonly accepted explanation of the recent anti-trans hysteria, which that took me off guard. Like, it really did feel like we were on this intractable path towards progress. There was like an optimism. It seems naive in retrospect. Like, I look back on that time, I'm like, you stupid bitch. But in my head during, around like 2000 to 2015, or I'm sorry, 2010 to 2015, I just felt like we were just headed towards like a bright future with a lot more tolerance and acceptance and respect. And now that I look back, it's like, well, yeah, of course there was this backlash. Because the anti-trans backlash is unlike anything I've seen in my lifetime. Like, it's been so intense, and it's been made so much worse because of social media, and people feel emboldened to say things in a digital forum that they probably wouldn't say in public, like in real life. And then that, ironically, like that kind of expression has now influenced the way that people behave in their lives, So it's this kind of weird cycle. It's just like the anti-gay stuff that immediately preceded it. But we were pushing past that, like Brokeback Mountain was considered a very controversial movie. We had those kind of characters before, but not like that. Like, not where you had like explicit sex scenes, and that was considered a big deal. Brokeback Mountain was considered a really big deal. And now there's gay characters everywhere. It's just the norm now. So people that like Gen Z that kind of grew up in the 2000s, they might not quite understand. I guess some of them grew up in the late 90s as well, but like I think a lot of them probably don't understand just how much things have changed culturally, which is why, like, even with the recent anti-trans and anti-general, like anti-queer hysteria that's popped up in like the libs of TikTokification of things, even with all of that, we're still so much more advanced and progressed socially than we were when I was growing up. It's kind of like this predictable kind of pendulum swing, because even the religious right in the anti-queer hysteria that kind of defined the to a certain extent the 70s, but like especially like the 80s and the 90s, there was a lot of like religious kind of pushback against queerness. But even that was a reaction to the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s, where people were, you know, you had people like David Bowie that were very publicly, unapologetically just smashing the gender binary and just very, very, very much openly challenging gender norms. But yeah, anyways, as bad as things are these days, we've just made so much progress. And I think the fact that they're so upset about trans people and about queerness in general is a sign that, like, those of us who favor tolerance have won. Like, we won that war. That's why they're so upset. Yeah.
Is that they just let it happen? Because I've always assumed it's like, if we have satellites that can read a license plate, why can't we figure out what these guys are doing?
Most of the technology developed for the military is about putting as much distance as possible between yourself and a target while still being able to connect with it. Guerrilla warfare is about closing that distance.
And like, my opinion is that, like, with the Vietnam War and with the Iraq War, is that we were not there to win. We were there to continue fueling the military industrial complex. I think if we had tried to actually accomplish any one specific goal there, it would have happened extremely fast.
This would require a much longer explanation than I'm equipped to provide here, but basically the problems our military faces in extended conflicts are not limited to what we can or can't blow up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if he starts a war over there, I think that most Americans probably won't really care that much as long as soldiers aren't being sent over there.
If Trump unilaterally...
That's probably true. I don't know what Conduit's going to say here.
...early and unconstitutionally decides to throw the U.S. military at a country, regardless of whether any soldiers are in immediate danger, people are going to care.
It would provoke a backlash, but I think I kind of agree with Asmon, where as long as there were no U.S. soldiers' boots on the ground in Venezuela, I think there's a hard cap on how many people would care. Yeah, I think I agree with him there.
Not in the Western Hemisphere, not in our backyard, because that destabilizes trade,
Wait, can I even show that? I don't even know if I can show that on the screen.
Stabilizes economies. It's the security of the United States at stake here.
Thankfully, that's the...
Am I allowed to show this, like, smut?
...last political story he covers before he gets to the new video game Where Winds Meet. You know, I've never actually seen Asmongold play a video game. I wonder what it's like.
Not eating food is really OP in terms of losing weight.
Listen, I'm not an expert, but I think Asmongold has an eating disorder.
You're just like those girls? No, I'm not. You just don't eat food. That's easy. It's easy. You just stop eating food. I don't make a big deal out of it. You just do it. There's a lot of foods low in calories. Most people just want the sugar. I love sugar. I started eating way more sugar, and everything in my life improved.
And that would be a sign of depression.
Like, in 100 years, there might not be anybody with diabetes anymore.
Wait, why would that be a sign of depression?
Yeah, it's probably just going to go away. Story mode, this is for girls, I guess. This is for, I guess, normal people.
Were you even listening?
Shut up, bitch! This bitch is wild. Damn, bitch. This bitch gets mad. You stupid fat bitch.
Please stop calling the child a bitch.
This bitch tries to tell me what to do.
There are a lot of strangers in town lately.
Well, I tried.
You guys noticed there aren't any fat people in this game?
Like, again, the whole shtick, you guys. The whole shtick is just like, what are you, triggered? That's the whole thing. That's his whole brand. If you just recognize it for what it is, it's a lot easier to not get upset when you hear people saying stuff like this. When you just recognize the grift. It is a grift. It's like, well, I don't know. Is it a grift or is it bait? What do you call it? And it just takes the power out of it. Like, I rarely get upset about the things that people say. Like, I rarely truly get offended.
Cocksucker.
That's good editing.
This next topic will be regarding the Christchurch shooting aftermath.
Do you feel like this person was influenced by these people on YouTube?
I remember watching this live, you guys. I remember when Trainwrecks and Asmongold tried to do a political podcast, and it ended up being so bad. They were both so out of their depth. I fucking remember this. This was like 2018 or 2017. They were both so out of their element, and they looked visibly uncomfortable when they would do these podcasts because they were just completely out of their depth. Like, why would you choose to do a political podcast then? That's like if I started a podcast, you know, focused on the Oakland A's or like MLB. What do I have to contribute to this in any meaningful way?
YouTube.
So this next topic will be regarding the Christchurch shooting
2019.
aftermath.
Do you feel like this person was influenced by these people on YouTube?
If you did read this guy's manifesto, this guy was like an extreme like alt-right figure. He wanted to rely on government to literally kick out all.
The fuck do you mean they're not the Oakland A's anymore? Oh God, this might be the most boomer moment I've ever had. This is news to me. They're going to Las Vegas? What? When the fuck did that happen? This year? I didn't know about that. That's crazy. That's actually so bananas. As someone who grew up in the Bay Area, or, you know, close to the Bay Area.
All Muslims from New Zealand. So he felt that he needed to go to a place and target and kill the most amount of Muslims possible, and he went to a mosque and did it. I do think that like hateful rhetoric can lead to hateful acts of violence. I mean,
dude, at the A's stadium, whatever that stadium was it called the A's stadium? Or was it called something else? They had the best garlic fries. My God, my mouth is watering. My mouth is fucking literally watering right now. Thinking about the garlic fries at the A's games. They were so fucking good.
I mean, that chain is to establish that is very complicated. You know, people maybe listen to a few jokes in one place, start posting on poll in another place, start getting drafted into more extremist groups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are a lot of people that are really good gateways for this. I mean, people have written up so many different types of studies for how you can start watching a Joe Rogan video and then go to Jordan Peterson and then wind up.
Yeah, just to give you a sense of how much has changed in the last 6 years. This was a 2v2 debate. Destiny and Hassan versus Sargon and Nick Fuentes. And I remember at one point, Hassan just started calling Nick Fuentes Booger Nick. I almost just had a really, really unfortunate dyslexic moment right there. Wow. That was almost very bad. Yeah, this was a 2v2 debate moderated by Trainwrecks and Asmongold. It was Destiny and Hassan when they were like getting we're just gonna move past it, okay? Versus Sargon and Nick Fuentes. Wow, so much has changed.
Up with more extremist figures like Nick Fuentes or maybe Lawrence Southern or something like that, and then eventually go down that extremist road.
I think at the beginning of your statement, you did give a little bit of credence to Nick and also Sargon's point that maybe he didn't feel like he was able to discuss these issues without being bladed or hated for it.
Oh yeah, sure, but that doesn't mean that I think that those views are legitimate or need to be platformed. I think that's a bad dichotomy, right? If somebody says like, I want to kill all black people, like, well, I'm going to fire you if you say that on Twitter, and then they go out and they actually kill black people because they got banned from Twitter, you wouldn't say, well, hold on, like, should we be suppressing this man's views? He felt like he had nowhere to express them, and now he actually.
Swanenberg, thank you for the $2. Appreciate you, buddy.
Well, no. I mean, the idea is we need to not have people have these horrendously anti-immigrant views in society, right? Mm-hmm. So views like Fuentes pushes, for instance, where he seems to be anti-immigrant or anti-person of color or whatever, moving into certain countries where he feels like it violates their Western culture or whatever, however he dog whistles.
How we doing, boys? What's going on? Ready to go again, man. Another fucking day.
All right, let's hear what today's discussion will be.
The big question of the day: did Donald Trump suck Bill Clinton's dick? Yeah, stop 9 wars and you suck one dick. You're not a peacemaker. You're a dick sucker. And wouldn't that be crazy for like all of the people that hate Donald Trump if he turns out to be the first LGBT president?
Not really. Like, you're basically saying that Trump being proven to have committed sexual acts in connection with Epstein means you get to own the libs. And I don't think that's the priority.
The French president is the same, apparently. Yeah, I heard about that with his husband as well. Candace Owens and a bunch of other people think that she's a man. Well, we don't really know this, right? It's not something I would bet on. Isn't she also a pedo? Yeah, of course. But it was in Europe, and so, like, you know, like, they do things differently over there.
I think that Macron's relationship is weird, to put it mildly, but yesterday you called Trump a piece of shit for calling out Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew's relationship with Epstein without evidence, so I'd still call this a double standard even before you get to the idea that any conspiracy theory touted by Candace Owens is even remotely plausible.
In 9 wars, you suck one dick. You're not a peacemaker, you're a dick sucker. That's right.
Jack Doherty got arrested. If you don't know who that is, he had one viral moment last year when he crashed his McLaren on stream because he decided to go 90 miles an hour in the rain.
That was crazy. And then he didn't even check in on his like cameraman at all. God, man, the fact that I don't understand how did this guy ever become a thing? Was he completely astroturfed? How the fuck did this happen, you guys? How did Jack Doherty become a thing? I don't understand it at all.
Rain.
Oh. Whoa. Whoa. Oh.
But there's one moment here I want to show you about a conversation Asmon had with his dad.
And I'm like, are you cooked? And he's like, what do you mean? Like, am I dead? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't know. Come over, let's find out.
This is what I'm talking about when I say his casual yapping is endearing, and it's something I haven't gotten from any of the other people I've watched. Maybe it's just my experience, but when you're dealing with a sick family, it's not just a constant deluge of sadness. There are the funny, awkward bits in the middle where you can eke out a laugh at the absurdity of the process. I think this is a good memory for Asmon to hold on to. Hassan is back in China again.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Someone asks Hassan about the gay dating app's China banned, which he incredulously calls a Twitter rumor.
I think you just saw that on Twitter. Meanwhile, Twitter. It's all Twitter.
I mean, that's fair.
Listen,
yeah.
just because you went to China doesn't mean you have to justify everything that China's ever done. You don't have to run PR for them. Feminism is still a dirty word in China. Guys, I already wanted to go. You don't have to keep convincing me.
You could probably tell from day one, but it's pretty clear this isn't just edgy humor. Asmon just doesn't like women. And if you reject that notion, let's finish up here and you'll see. Before he moves on from the subject, Asmon watches a clip of Destiny's reaction to Hassan's trip.
I think he's like Jackson Hinkle territory to me, like worse than Fuentes right now. I cannot believe that you would do a propaganda.
Yep. Hassan is for sure in Captain, what the fuck? Captain Hinkle. Hassan is for sure in Jackson Hinkle territory, 100%. How could you argue otherwise?
And a trip to China, and that you would suck off Mao. I think that
Klein worse than Fuentes is so retarded and biased. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't want to get into it. I mean, I can see why he says that. I can see why people would disagree, right?
Boy, I sure wonder if the implications of his non-comment won't reveal themselves later. This is Hassan's reaction to being gifted a little red book.
Really?
Is that a Bible?
The fact that Hassan's entourage would think the Chinese government would offer him a Bible is just so telling about their understanding of the country.
The red book? I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what it's about. I have no idea. Can you imagine if I did that? Like, let's say somebody gifted me a book of like fucking The Art of the Deal or like Mein Kampf and I did that. Oh my God. Like, that would just be, people would be talking about that.
Oh, what was the book that Lenin wrote? What was it called? What Needs to Be Done? Was that what it was called?
On the, like, around the whole world. Can you imagine that? Oh!
I'm pretty sure Asmon doesn't intend to make any implications here, but he's making implications here.
What is to be done, yeah.
Because of the implication.
Now Asmon reacts to the trailer for a new Pokemon game.
Wow. It's Ditto. This is made for people that have an IQ of like 65. And I am so excited to see every dumb e-girl probably playing this game on release. Oh, wow, it's a Squirtle. Oh, wow. Oh, God.
Remember what he said yesterday?
Like, I don't go to the salon.
I don't know what I was expecting from this Asmon video. I guess I'm not surprised.
And we don't do that. We don't do that to them. You have Pokemon.
He watches the trailer for the new Call of Duty.
What a stupid game. This is tough. You can only choose wisely. Yeah, it's bread. Yeah, if it was regular bread, then it'd be a tougher decision. But yeah, with garlic bread, I mean, come on.
And then he finds out that a games journalist said Expedition 33 isn't an indie game, and so it shouldn't be nominated for an indie award. Asmon proceeds to loop.
It's not a loop. It's a spiral.
Asmon proceeds to spiral.
Which dumb retard idiot said this? Where's the dumb retard idiot that said this? You idiot. you fucking moron.
Which then carries over into anger at the Indie Game Awards in general for being woke.
He just, that's like the, it's like, what are they called? Geeks and Gamers? It's like their reaction to the Fallout trailer. Diversity! Diversity! He just sees a collage of pictures of like a diverse pool of human beings. Just
the problem
something just fires off in his mind. These synapses just start firing off in his mind.
Not in their girth, but it is in their taste. 2 overweight soy millennial men to go and gas up the Indie Game Awards, and you've got a bunch of nominations here of games that nobody even played. This is bad. I am so fucking upset, and these retards are sitting here making these award shows for other retards, and it's making me mad.
So just to make sure I understand, these are people you don't like promoting games you don't want to play to an audience you aren't a part of, and for some reason this is deeply offensive.
This is pathetic.
I mean, I agree, but not for the reason you intended.
Blue hair games? Yeah, all woke shit, bro. All annoying, cringe, like millennial slop woke trash. Oh, it's my lizard. Oh, he's on the wall. I tried to catch him the other day. I couldn't get him.
Skyrim I hear in the background?
And now we're looking at libs of TikTok. Why are we looking at libs of TikTok?
Literally all Karens. All middle-aged white women.
But don't worry, it's not over yet.
Middle-aged.
Women are fed up. What is this, for lesbians? Articles like this are written by angry fat women in their 30s. So
Vice says, managing his stress, interpreting his moods, holding his hand through feelings he won't share with anyone else, all of it unpaid, unacknowledged, and often unreciprocated. Is it any wonder women are fed up? Certainly a provocative description. The only thing that sticks out to me here is like unpaid. That's a kind of bizarre framing to me. Does anybody else have that same reaction? Unpaid? This is a relationship. What are we talking about? Why would you be paid? Who's going to pay you? But I don't think it is, the premise is crazy at all. I mean, because if I'm a babysitter to that man, I should be paid. I mean, I don't know why you need to bring in that specific terminology. It's like, okay, of course it's unpaid. It's like, but you know, just anecdotally, I've had to do a lot of work on myself. I've had to do a lot of work on myself in the last 10 years. And obviously you guys know I've been in a long-term relationship now. We've been together for over 10 years. And you know what's funny is like, I thought I was this really open-minded, evolved guy. Like that was the image of myself that I had in my head. But come to find out, that was not reality. Unreciprocated, I think that's fine. But unpaid is just kind of weird framing. But I really thought I was this advanced guy who had moved past what we might call like toxic masculinity. And I was just so much better than all these other guys. And then Vince Zampella died? What? He was at Respawn, right? What? In a crash on Southern California's Angeles Crest Highway. Wait, I know that highway. Man, that is horrible. Wasn't he responsible for COD? Yeah. It was him and one other guy whose name I can't remember, but man, rip. Jesus. That guy had such a profound impact on my life in ways that he just never knew. But this guy literally changed the trajectory of my life, this guy. Okay, going back to what I was talking about here. And I have to assume that this is really common with guys. I think a lot of us don't deal with vulnerability well at all. Because we were taught through either our parents or social conditioning or cultural pressures that any kind of vulnerability meant weakness, and any kind of weakness with men is like a big no-no. And so you can do all the work, you can do therapy for years, but that's really deeply ingrained kind of patterns of thinking about yourself and thinking about the world. And so I can imagine how difficult it must be for the partners of men who struggle with vulnerability. I can imagine getting impatient with that. I can imagine getting kind of fed up with that. Even if that person has totally valid reasons for having those ingrained patterns, I can imagine getting kind of fed up with that. But anyways, I mean, I haven't even read this article. I'm just reacting to the headline here.
So they can hopefully, ruin the marriage prospects. And
no, they're written to get rage clicks.
It's all a massive psyop.
I mean, that's certainly true. This was obviously written deliberately provocative. And it worked. 482 replies and 115 likes. 8-tracked with $5. Read the paragraph. Replace him with her. It's generally what is expected of men to be a better partner. This post is bizarre. Generally what is expected of men to be, so replace him with her. Okay. Managing her stress, interpreting her moods, holding her hand through feelings she won't share with anyone else. All of it unpaid, unacknowledged, and often unreciprocated. Is it any wonder women are fed up? I see what you're doing there. I will say that I do think that there are disproportionate expectations put on women to serve that role than vice versa. But I think a lot of us that have had relationships with women, probably a lot of us have experienced being with women who similarly didn't know how to be vulnerable without being angry or whatever. You know, it's not like these are strict gender rules, but you can find women that are where men have had to do emotional labor. But the phrasing of all this just gets like, it's all just so massively generalized. And I think it perpetuates this idea of like these, men are this and women are that. It's like there's so much overlap. Like you can find a lot of the toxic traits of masculinity. You can find those traits in plenty of women in the world and vice versa.
If it is actually real, okay, yeah, let's look up who wrote it. Let's see if it's a fat, middle-aged woman. Let's find out.
More woke games media who don't like AI.
It's because all of these studios and all of these people are totally bought and paid for, and they are pushing an agenda. I cannot wait for the day that I get to announce that this company is being shut down and they're having layoffs. Once these like weird freaks get into your company, they're like a parasite or an infection. And you can't just, remove every infected cell. You have to sever the limb.
Everyone knows once you start using language like parasite to describe someone, your ideology is a winner.
You can't rebuild Ubisoft. The only people who can do it is China. And the Middle East can also do it. It's because there isn't a cultural cost for them simply firing all of the woke people. Same with Japan. Like, Japan just got rid of all of Square Enix English team. It's because they're a bunch of woke, weird losers.
Hilariously, the director for Final Fantasy XVI said the most unwoke thing possible outside of an actual slur about the game, and it still didn't sell well. Asmon has a message for the people who don't like hearing the R word from their streamers.
It doesn't matter how many fat, annoying, stupid, middle-aged women.
Okay, I think you get the point now. Mexico had protests against the government for supposed connections to drug cartels in their country. It's actually amazing how horseshoe theory is proven in real time.
It's One Piece. It's just like One Piece. Are they taking back their country? I think it's because they think that she's in cahoots with the cartels. I don't know if she is or not. I don't know. Like, I think that to some degree you probably have to be cordial with them. But I don't really know that. I've never been to Mexico, so like, how am I really supposed to know? I mean, honestly, how can you run Mexico without working with them? I'd probably threaten their life and family. Well, I mean, El Salvador, the guy over there did it, and, as far as I bet they probably tried to threaten him too.
El Salvador suspended basic rights and arrested thousands of people, overcrowding their prisons even with the opening of CCOT. It's also reported that there are hundreds of political prisoners. Since 2022, the state has arrested over 3,300 children, many without justification or connection to gangs. Interviews reveal that the police were given arrest quotas, meaning that this was likely done to pump up their numbers. They've also been held in detention and prisons with adults, exposing them to potential abuse. Which, speaking of, torture and abuse are rampant. And now with the gangs gone, the ones committing crimes are now the police and the military.
On the president of Mexico seeking asylum in America. I can't believe he did this. They're January 6ing. I'm proud of them. They're January 6ing. Look at them go. Bro, it's like Helm's Deep. They're bringing in the ladders.
Just when I thought the disparity between his initial reaction to January 6th and this couldn't get any more stark.
Maybe this is like an egomaniac thing for me to say, but I do actually feel like I have some degree of obligation to, whenever something crazy like this is happening in the world, that I do actually like talking about it, because I feel like every mainstream media publication doesn't give a fuck and doesn't care at all.
Your obligation isn't to just talk about something that happens without any proper understanding of what's happening. Your obligation is to accurately inform people if this is what you want to spend time on.
Straight up punched him in the dick.
But I guess that might be too much to ask.
Oh my God. They beat him with bolt cutters? Oh, they are. They're beating him to death. To be fair, they're just pushing him around right now. But whenever I see a crash out happening in a country like Mexico, that to me is very different than an American crash out. Because American crash outs are people who are angry because the election didn't go their way. In these other countries, people are angry because the election didn't go.
I think he's talking about no kings as opposed to, you know, January 6th. But either way, he's incorrect because Claudia Sheinbaum won with stupidly large margins, beating her closest opponents by nearly 2 times the votes in an election that no one has called illegitimate. So the people he's watching are, in fact, rioting because the election didn't go their way.
Like, if you don't have a way to democratically be able to voice your frustrations and vent your frustrations, then the only option is violence. But sometimes you just simply lose the democratic vote. To be fair, our democracy probably plays a role in their lack of democracy. I think that you're right, and I think that Americans do need to spend less time intervening in other countries' affairs.
It's horseshoes all the way.
We're saying Mexico has a lack of democracy? Is that
way down?
This is what January 6th was meant to be. Yeah, I do think this is funny whenever you look at this and you compare it to January 6th, you know? It's like, oh, wow. Yeah, January 6th was so horrible. Uh-huh. Yeah, sure, guys.
My God.
Reasonable people look at this and view it as a disgrace. Most Mexicans ask Trump for military help.
What? It's either a grift or he evolved or both. I don't know what it is.
They do not. A little less than half would support U.S. military assistance specifically if it came with government approval.
I don't think we really should intervene militarily with Mexico, but I do think that there's a degree of American best interest, some degree of aid or something like that we could give them. It'll be better for us too. Because, like, there are 2 ways that you can stop people from coming to your country, right? One other way to stop them from coming over is to make it so they don't want to. It's like, if they don't even want to, problem solved.
You have just made the argument for USAID.
Bro, if they catch her, they're going to kill her? The cartel members, I mean, am I really going to feel bad for that? The cartel members kill people all the time. They think that she's in cahoots with the cartels. I don't know if she is or not. I don't know. Like, proof that she's a cartel asset, though?
Swanee with $10 to people like Asmon. Any country outside Western Europe that speaks another language equals third world and incapable of democracy. Suggesting Mexico doesn't have democracy seems crazy to me. He's saying, like, well, when you don't give people a democratic outlet, then they'll riot. But, like, how has democracy been suppressed in Mexico? Like, in terms of the people's ability to elect a government?
Proof? No. Evidence? Yes. I don't know. Like, but there's no actual proof.
He doesn't know that Claudia Sheinbaum is corrupt. He doesn't know who organized this protest. He doesn't know what the actual goals of the protest are. But it's good because it's in the direction of what he needs to validate supporting Trump's policies. Asmon thinks the protest isn't being covered by American media because it would convey that Mexicans aren't able to assimilate to American culture, and Sheinbaum is unpopular despite opposing Trump.
In order to push the narrative that there is like a parity between American culture and Mexican culture in the way that people from Mexico are going to come to America and seamlessly integrate with the culture.
Has called it a movement financed by right-wing politicians and business.
You're jumping the shark. You're jumping the shark. It's so obvious that's not true.
Asmongold might dismiss that claim out of hand, but let's actually dig into it. Apologies for any mispronunciations of any names. Claudia Sheinbaum said that the protests against her at that moment were a coordinated right-wing effort stoked by online botting, billionaires, and members of the opposing party in an effort to undermine her legitimacy with the populace. So, were there billionaires? Yes, there were. Ricardo Salinas Pliego, a Mexican billionaire who owes the government $4 billion, was one of the initial instigators of the protest on social media, sharing a message from a Mexican influencer, Carlos Bello, who had not previously delved into politics, denouncing the administration. Those calls were amplified until a protest was announced and simultaneously promoted by 179 TikTok accounts and 359 Facebook groups. And on November 1st, after the murder of Mayor Carlos Manzo, every group shifted from a general demand for change to supporting his memory. Were there members of the opposing party? Yes, there were. Vicente Fox, former president of Mexico, the guy who during Trump's first term said they weren't going to build the fucking wall, supported the protests. Here he is wearing a one-piece shirt. Very Gen Z. Were there bots? Yes, there were. Javier Negre, the founder of La Derecha Diario, and Agustin Antonetti are 2 right-wing digital strategists with connections to Salinas, and have operated in South American politics previously, and have used bots and artificial promotion of hashtags on Twitter like Narco Presidente in the Mexican election. They both participated in the creation of this movement. And the final piece of evidence that this was astroturfed is that the protest following this one only garnered 200 people. There is not broad dissatisfaction with Scheinbaum in Mexico.
Right, it's all bots and right-wing extremism. That must be it, guys. Yeah, for sure, guys. 100%, that's what it is. She still says she has 80% removal.
I don't understand how anybody would ever honestly try to make the case that bots are not just a perpetual feature of political discourse now. They're obviously an enormous factor a good chunk of the time on any hot button issue.
Approval rating? Really? I see that.
She has 70% approval. A crowd of people is not indicative of nationwide popularity.
Do you believe that ICE human rights violations are committed with total impunity? I disagree with the idea of human rights to begin with. People don't have innate rights. Rights are invented. There's no difference between a right and the way that you should treat somebody. So you've started off the conversation on a lie.
Okay, cool. What do you think about ICE's violation of people's invented rights?
Sure, yeah.
A human rights violation. According to who? Somebody who disagrees with you? Oh, okay. Well, let's just listen to them tell you why you're wrong. No, I don't think so.
Well, there are the people who died.
What is this vapid nonsense? What is he actually saying?
People violently detained without cause. The people deported against court orders and their legal status. The people arrested despite following the rules they were given to avoid deportation. The people who died. And the people who were violently detained without cause.
So he's saying this about Donald Trump? What the fuck?
More Epstein cope that these emails don't literally say, yes, we were best friends doing sex crimes together.
I feel like it's such an abstract thing to say, right? Because if you're saying that he brought up Trump after the relationship had ended, does that mean that he's talking about new things, or is he's talking about Trump in general? I think that's a misleading statement. You know what? This actually makes me think that they were actually pretty good friends. Because there's no way you're going to be emailing somebody years after the fact, still mauling out over it, unless you guys used to be boys. Yes.
It's not up for debate. It's not an open question if they used to be boys. We don't need to speculate. Like Epstein himself, you can hear, there's audio recording that you can hear that one journalist. Epstein himself said that him and Trump were not only friends, but best friends for years. They have a well-documented friendship. Why is this even a question? Why are we speculating about whether or not they were close friends? We already know that they were 100,000%. There's not a debate.
He was patient zero for TDS. Exactly. Yeah, but like obviously he didn't, like Epstein clearly doesn't think that about Trump, because if he did, he wouldn't have been friends with him for all those years.
Yes, the people who might have one specific thing in common that they can't share with anybody else wouldn't override their other feelings about each other that they might find distasteful.
He's close to no one. Well, if he's close to no one, then I guess then you weren't close to him, right? If you're saying this. I would not look at Jeffrey Epstein as a reliable narrator. It's worth taking into account, it's worth reading and listening to, but I wouldn't just believe it.
In the span of one day, we've gone from,
oh, it could make somebody look bad? Too bad. You shouldn't have gone to an island with a pedophile.
To, well, being in the files doesn't mean you're technically a pedophile.
Well, Trump's name being in the files doesn't mean he did anything wrong. Like, Epstein is crashing out about Trump and they're not even friends anymore. So are you counting all the times that he's complaining about Donald Trump in his emails? It's so dishonest. Just release the files, we'll figure out who the weirdos are, and arrest them.
And also he has an opinion about the concerns about Trump's health, given that he got an MRI that he won't explain the purpose of.
Maybe there's something wrong with Trump. Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe he has cancer. Maybe there's some other big issue. Maybe it was an MRI. They needed to do that because he's the president and they do an extra level of testing for somebody who's the president. I don't know. It could be 50 different reasons.
Okay, but the issue is we still don't know, and he won't tell us.
I think it's important for people to know whether the president is physically capable of doing the job.
I'm going to warn you now, if this video is spiking your blood pressure, 1, I'm sorry, and 2, it's going to get worse. Because Asmongold is about to react to Kyle Kalinski's video calling him the dumbest person of 20.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
2025.
Look, you do a massive disservice. You have this giant audience of people who follow you. And
Marjorie Taylor Greene posted, the interest on our $38 trillion national debt has now reached $1 trillion, but they are pitching a $112 billion plan to rebuild Gaza, with the U.S. supporting half of that in grants and debt guarantees. Of course, after they clear 10,000 dead bodies buried under the 68 million tons of rubble, why do Americans have to pay for this? Damn.
if you're out there...
The disservice is disagreeing.
Zelensky's arguments kind of suck because he's basically blowing hot air for his own audience rather than trying to say anything substantial.
Yeah, that's kind of Zelensky in a nutshell, isn't it?
But Asmongold's response is something. He starts off with a whopper on Trump's cuts to the NIH, which include cuts to pediatric cancer care.
Has it ever occurred to you that maybe the research was done in a way that was bad? Every time that people say something like this, the implication is that, oh, they're curing cancer or something like that. This is bullshit. Yeah. And also on top of that, yeah, just because you're doing research doesn't mean that it's a good allocation of government money.
Asmon will not look up to see whether this is even remotely true. Federal budget cuts, amongst other things, include $4 million from the Pediatric Brain Tumor Consortium, an organization that does research on rare cancers affecting thousands of children every year. You might think on principle that the government shouldn't fund bad science, but they aren't checking on the validity of the research because the mechanisms aren't in place to do an audit like that, let alone that quickly. And if you need evidence, over the course of this year, the government has fired thousands of people and then had to hire them back because they didn't realize they were necessary. This is not being done with care or concern for the consequences.
But I do think they're probably overshooting and probably firing too many people too quickly. But I think that the inevitability of this is not to be denied. But it's for cancer kids. Okay, great emotional argument. Because the idea of, oh my God, he's cutting research for cancer kids. Oh no, that sounds bad.
What he will look up.
I don't really like to bring up. I mean, it's just what's particularly wild about this line of thinking is, well, to be fair, I don't know the broader context. Whatever.
Is whether the Weather Service cuts were actually to blame for flash flood deaths in Texas.
According to three formers, staffing shortages in national services are nothing new. So this has already been happening. It was already happening, and it was.
I am dubious that cutting staff for the Weather Service as we encounter more and more extreme weather events will have a positive overall impact on our ability to navigate them in the future, even if you accept that it wasn't a problem this time.
This is the thing, right? You give a specific example, and it falls apart.
Now, what about Trump cutting the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's budget in half?
Good. They weren't doing their job.
The CFPB was created after the 2008 financial crisis and has a budget today of a little.
I guarantee you, if you read a laundry list of what the CFPB did under Biden, Asmon would approve of like 95% of what they did. Stuff like limiting the like overdraft fees. Oh boy, it feels like it's been so long since the Biden years. What were some of there was a laundry list of just unbelievably based pro-consumer stuff. Like stuff that Donald Trump, I think, reversed. Like the idea that you could cancel your gym membership with a single button press. Unbelievably pro-consumer. These gyms make it overly burdensome to cancel your gym membership. And then Big Dick Biden and Lena Khan came around and forced these gyms to add functionality to allow people to just end their membership with one click. So like they did dozens of those kinds of changes. And if you read a list of them, I'll bet you anything if you read a list of that and then said that it was the Trump administration that did these things, I'll bet you anything Asmongold would call every single one of them based.
A little under $1 billion.
They obviously had no fucking idea what they were doing.
But prior to the cuts, they had clawed $21 billion back for consumers and imposed $5 billion in fines. Again, this is an institution that has a higher rate of return for the people it helps than the taxation it costs to operate.
The scams have been through the fucking roof. So there's a bureau of people that are supposed to stop scams. And you want to keep them on payroll? They sucked.
Firing government workers who are veterans?
Oh no, you can't fire veterans anymore.
Trump is firing 80,000 people at the Department of Veterans Affairs. There is no way to fully predict the impact of so many people losing their jobs in such a short amount of time, or the reverberations it will have across the broader economy. But this will mean that care for veterans will get worse.
Another emotional appeal.
Firing 250,000 government workers overall.
Good. It should have been more.
Apparently, Asmon isn't worried about the economic impact of sudden large-scale job loss. I'm scared to hear what—
250,000? Are you sure about those numbers? They fired 250,000. Did I mishear him? Fired 250,000 government workers? I don't think that doesn't sound right. Is it right?
What he thinks about gutting USAID.
Oh no, that's right. It's America's responsibility to pay for people that have HIV and AIDS in Africa.
Unironically, yes.
Oh yeah.
The total cost of USAID fluctuates between $40 and $60 billion, or around about $105 per person in the United States, and less than 1% of the total federal budget. Since 1990, USAID has helped cut mortality for children under 5.5, and 90 countries had their under 5 mortality drop by 2/3. PEPFAR, which provides AIDS medication, has saved 25 million people, and currently helps 20 million people, including 500,000 children.
People have been dying in droves.
Is he specifying in America or not? No, he's not. It's because it's not happening in America.
If you don't believe the numbers that say hundreds of thousands of people will inevitably die as a result of dismantled infrastructure to provide aid, or that the people who can migrate will inevitably put even more pressure on American immigration services that will be much more expensive, which Asmon understands based on his analysis of Mexico, what about the fact that USAID's support confined disease outbreaks to parts of the world that meant they had a much harder time finding their way to the US? For example, the West Africa Ebola outbreak in 2014. USAID led the response, and he dismantled USAID while another outbreak is ongoing.
It's because you have people here that are dying from lack of medical care. You have people here that don't have housing. Where is the priority list that a veteran ever gets outranked by a person in Africa? Oh no, you can't fire veterans anymore. Yeah, I agree with it.
Yeah, my head is spinning right now.
Good call. W. And also all of these examples here that he's given are policy decisions and not actual violence. I was discussing things like Charlie Kirk and Jay Jones in the clip. And so he's misinterpreted what I've said, and he's even making an argument that doesn't even make sense in the context of what I said.
All of these things make people more susceptible to violence and overall suffering. And regardless of if it's directly violent, his casual willingness to vocally endorse choices that have and will lead to more people needlessly dying is—
It's also, like banal, isn't it? Like vapid and banal. It's just so goddamn boring. You know what I mean?
It's more monstrous than anything Jay Jones has texted. But we're not done yet. Asmon's perspective on the government killing people they've labeled as terrorists has changed in the last 5 years.
Let me get this straight. So the US government can read a license plate with a satellite from outer space, but you think that a Twitter post that said that the people were innocent is more accurate than that?
People in glass houses shouldn't throw tweets.
And they're trying to think that it's new.
But to his main point, we have not gotten any evidence that these people are absolutely guilty of crimes, that the crimes would require this response, or that the repercussions of carrying out these responses would be worth it versus other means. He's just taking Trump at his word.
Sure. Because they agree with it, because it's the right thing to do. It is. Absolutely. Blow up the boats. Without even a question. How could you be against that? You don't just shoot people randomly. Who determines who a terrorist is? The person with the gun? What happens when they're wrong? If I saw somebody running at my house with a bomb, I would want to shoot them before they got to my house. I wouldn't want to try to apprehend them, arrest them, and try to put them through a whole process. No, you just fucking shoot them.
We're not talking about people that were transporting bombs that were going to be dropped on Americans.
And he'd do the same thing.
The analogy doesn't work because the urgency of someone being immediately outside and someone being thousands of miles away are completely different.
It's insane. Okay, well, that's a good argument for why they're not narco-terrorists.
Trafficking narcotics,
yes.
The penalty is not instant death. Are you?
Yeah, it is. And if it's not, it should be. How about that? Who's going to stop us? Yeah, exactly. Fuck them.
You don't give the government unilateral authority to execute people on the premise of a crime that hasn't been proven after the execution has already taken place. Or, as Asmon said,
Who determines who a terrorist is? The person with the gun? What happens when they're wrong? Do you ever think about this?
And now more equivocating of rhetoric that comes with a bunch of claims that would each require extensive work to counter, so please don't confuse my brevity for a lack of substance.
To be fair, this was after 4 years of them trying to delegitimize Trump's presidency by him being connected to Russia.
Multiple people on Trump's campaign were found guilty of crimes connected to Russia, even if the direct collusion theory some people promoted didn't pan out.
There was, remember the hashtag not my president, where people were saying that, oh, he's just, got elected because of Russia.
A Twitter hashtag is not indicative of people trying to delegitimize an election. Trump lost the popular vote in 2016 by a significant margin, and his many character flaws were apparent in the way he talked and operated.
While I do say that January 6th was a bad thing, I don't think that, again, Republicans did not invent election denial. And it turned out that all that, by the way, was bullshit.
Remember Al Franken? Al Franken was a senator. There was a picture that he took where he was like fake grabbing somebody's titty while they were sleeping.
Though that would be the most well-known of Franken's transgressions, he was also accused of forcibly kissing a woman who was performing with him at a USO show, once again showing that Kulinski needs to stop using Twitter as a source.
Well, I think if you want...
I don't know if I knew about that. Or I don't know if I remembered that.
I want to talk about a policy decision that's like very unhinged that makes people radicalized. I think that a good example of that is the trans in sports. Also, like trans kids using bathrooms. Now, you can make an argument that this
trans kids using bathrooms, that's a bit
really
broad.
a big issue. But if it's not a big issue, then why are you fighting it so much?
Is my hair thinning because I'm getting older, or because I find clumps of it in my hands moments after I hear comments like that? They are not some grand-scale interference in the ability of cisgender kids to get scholarships or recognition. The biological condition of those kids is not inherently an advantage either, because traits that are advantageous vary from sport to sport, before you even get to whether the kid in question has that trait to a degree that would be advantageous in the first place. It is not worth this level of national scrutiny to monitor this issue.
That argument is of the same validity of flat Earth. This is a flat Earth argument. I think loving Hitler is bad. Absolutely, it's bad.
And now for why Trump insulting everyone is acceptable, because people have been insulting him.
Okay, so what I find to be funny about this is that, yes, Trump has used negative words about Democrats. But how many times was Trump called a Nazi? How many times was he called a racist? How many times was he called a Russian asset? I would say calling somebody vermin, radical, or a lunatic is not even remotely in the same category as calling somebody a Nazi.
Trying to assert that someone isn't a Nazi at the same time they're using the exact same rhetoric Hitler used against Jews is not going to be very convincing.
I think the reason why people like Kyle were upset is that the words that they have used for many, many years, things like Nazi, racist, etc., all these bullshit words, have effectively lost all of their meaning.
They haven't lost their meaning. People have just had their sense of shame eroded by the way social media simultaneously isolates us in echo chambers and creates competition for attention via the most extreme ideologies. It's not that calling something racism doesn't mean anything. It's that racism itself doesn't mean anything because it's become so normalized that people have, ironically, built up a tolerance.
And this is after they tried to put him in jail and, fucking gave him a mugshot, charged him 34 times for the same exact crime.
They didn't charge him 34 times for the same crime. He did the same crimes multiple times by funneling money through his campaign to pay off Stormy Daniels to cover up their affair.
It's pretty obvious that this has been weaponized from both directions.
Who's the biggest commentator on the right these days? Nick Fuentes. Here's some stuff Nick Fuentes has said. Quote, Hitler was really fucking...
I don't even know if that's true. I know Rogan would reject the label, but I think Rogan's the biggest commentator on the right. He might say, well, I'm not on the right, but he is, but whatever.
Cool. I admire Hitler.
And how many crazy leftist people are out there? Oh, but Hassan said this thing. What the fuck does that have to do with me? What Nick Fuentes said, I don't have to defend that. I didn't say that. Why the fuck would I even, why even bring that up? There's nothing to do with it. I will say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's very obvious that the Democrats have been the massively violent ones. And if you look at all of these studies, by the way, that were conducted, these studies don't show a massive rise in violence that happened in 2020. They don't show the massive rises in violence that happened during the Tesla bombings, for example. And the reason why is because all of these studies...
Tesla bombings? That wasn't... Maybe he's conflating.
These are biased.
So here's the obvious thing that Asmon gets wrong about crime in 2020. There were, in fact, noticeable spikes in crime, but there were also noticeable drops in others. You have 3 seconds to guess why this might have happened.
Just generally lockdowns? I don't know.
It was COVID.
Okay, yeah.
The spikes in crime have some correlation to BLM, but it wasn't an aberration in criminality. It was the main focus of people's attention while everyone was mostly stuck inside, and therefore it became associated with the overall trends going haywire. And I'm not dismissing the idea that there was violence during BLM that wouldn't have happened without it. A police station was burned down. There was about $2 billion in property damage. But here are the FBI's own statistics, not the calculations made by whatever university you'll probably think is biased. Joe Biden didn't switch out the FBI director Trump appointed, Christopher Wray. For all intents, these are Trump's numbers: arson, larceny, and robbery, and then compare those to burglary, impersonations, and shoplifting. You can see that crimes went up or down relative to the proximity they have to other people. Unrelated, did you know that the FBI tracks how many people get charged with treason?
But any reasonable person who just looks at the news can clearly see that every single time that there is anything violent, besides maybe January 6th and maybe one or two other times, the majority of mass violence and mass hysteria is done by Democrats.
Asman, intentionally or not, has completely forgotten the threats against school boards, the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, the Paul Pelosi hammer attack, 2020 threats against election officials, and QAnon. This is not a both sides issue. 2020 has been gradually elevated by the right-wing media as a period of extreme violence, and January 6th has been gradually minimized.
And they are justified.
Well, to be clear, I think there has been an increase in left-wing violence in 2025. I think a measurable increase. But we would probably want to look at the totality of all political violence spanning decades, right?
Rationalized and considered okay by so many liberals, and that's a huge problem. The difference between me and I think a lot of people like Kyle is that if I say something that I think is wrong, I will say, I think that was wrong, I shouldn't have said that. But the problem is that people like Kyle don't accept that.
Well, I guess we'll see.
This is the mindset of the people that are making videos about me, disagreeing with me, crying about me, etc.
Well, I'm definitely doing two of those things.
Maybe one day, once a week or so, I'll have to react to some videos and things like that that people make of me.
In the unlikely chance he actually does that for this video, I hope you can at least say I'm approaching this in good faith.
Jesus, bro, the damage is insane.
Okay, we are going to break this up into a part 1, part 2. That concludes part 1. We'll do a part 2 tomorrow.
There's been a lot of people talking about me, and it's been great.
So Dr. K was talking about people that had, he's like trying to draw a distinction between people that have like legit like mental pathological illness versus people who just have logically come to a conclusion that their life isn't worth living. And people got mad about that. And I think the reason why is that 80 to 90% of all self-help on the internet is just self-indulgent to make people who are doing bad things think that it's not their fault that they're doing the bad things.
Can you give an example?
There are guys out there that have, they're incels, right? And they think that, the reason why they can't get a girlfriend is because of hoflation.
So like hoes, women, is it women having higher standards?
It's just that simple.
Well, why would they want to date someone that they think's a hoe?
Well, because all girls are hoes.
Oh, they're all hoes.
And so that goes back to my point, right? And so it's like this person thinks that they can't get a girlfriend because of hoflation. No, you can't get a girlfriend because your life is a complete mess. Nobody wants to be around you. You don't have any guy friends either.
When was this recorded? This looks like it's a number of years ago.
Except for other weirdos on the internet. People seek out different types of like people to tell them that, well, it's actually not your fault that you don't have a girlfriend. It's actually because of dating apps and these other things. They never get challenged to actually improve themselves on a personal level. They just get a fucking vicious cycle of learned helplessness. All they're doing is just feeding, it's an actual like legit thing.
It's good.
It's like a feeding frenzy on making themselves feel good for doing things that are bad and then consuming media.
Some of you guys are being a bit dismissive of his take here because it's coming from him, but I think he is touching on something that's real.
That reaffirms that the bad things they're doing aren't their fault and are in fact not the cause of
a similar kind of situation with MAGA. The reason why MAGA was such a brilliant political strategy is because he was tapping into a need that these people had to assign blame to other people. It's funny because they call left-wingers just a bunch of perpetually aggrieved victims, but There's no greater, or I don't know what the word would be, but there's no, I mean, MAGA is the perfect example of perpetual grievance and victimhood. And Donald Trump came in there and he gave everybody villains that they could point to. And it seems similar. I mean, I'm not super familiar with the incel crowd, to be just perfectly clear about that. But I imagine it's a similar kind of appeal. Like, oh, the reason I'm not successful with women is because of these factors that are, you know, completely outside of my ability to influence or affect. You know, oh, it's not my fault that girls won't talk to me or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's saying anything remotely controversial so far in this. The trib with $2, Asmon outside of politics is pretty reasonable. I don't think Asmongold is dumb. I think Asmongold is actually kind of smart, but he's kind of leaned into this. I don't know. Do you call it a grift? He's kind of leaned into this. Like he knows his audience. I'll put it that way. Like he for sure knows his audience. And I think you know, and there's some overlap with what he was just saying, because I think he serves up a product that he knows his audience wants to hear. I don't know if he actually believes half the shit that he says. I'm not super convinced.
The problems they have.
I really, really like playing video games. I do. I love playing video games.
The MCA. That's a great song. Talking Heads, my God.
Arabia, because they probably gave him a ton of money.
Mr. Beast gets backlash for building wells in Africa, okay? There's so much irrational, brain-dead hate for Mr. Beast that any sort of, like, legitimate criticism just...
I mean, I agree with that, too, for the
goes
record.
away.
Most of the criticism is just that he uses the money he gives away to create content that undercuts the sense of generosity by commodifying it. Even if...
I mean, that's true, but I just think people get... I think the level of upset that people get is a bit much.
The content itself is what allows him to provide the charity.
I've never been a big Mr. Beast fan because the whole premise to me is so... It's like the money is the content, you know? It's all very kind of Squid Games situation. But I also think that the extreme reactions to when he announces, like, I just built 50 new wells in Africa or whatever, like, I think those reactions are a bit intense and kind of lame. But this idea, like, with enough money, you can just... The content is driven by this, like, the money. Like, so there is no kind of personal touch to it. The kind of YouTube channels that I like, there's always, like, some kind of personal kind of element. I swear to you, I promise I'm going to pin it right now. I was in the process of doing that. I got sidetracked by another weave. Here,
or
let me do
Epstein
it right now.
Clinton speculation.
This is why the media wanted Trump to win. Yeah, they wanted to have the first LGBT president. Exactly.
Donnie with $10. I think there are some personalities he follows, and I think one of those is Elon. I remember when he got real upset when Elon got mad at him for Asmon calling out his Path of Exile cheating. Yeah, I think Elon unfollowed him when that happened.
Ozempic single-handedly killed the body positivity movement.
Oh my God, can we not talk about fat people? I'd honestly rather talk about Israel at this point.
It was a psyop by fat women to make their body types seen as attractive in the public eye.
Believe it or not, women don't just think about how to be attractive to men all day. And in this case, it isn't about their relationship to men, it's about their relationship with the world and the way people...
Also, guys, this is just a fact. There are a lot of guys in the world. Like... People like Asmon, when they talk about standards of beauty, treat them as though they're absolute and universal. There's this universal kind of like grums, you know, like bring back attractive women in video games. Like the people that perpetuate this completely nonsense idea that there's this universal standard of beauty. It's such a dumb lie. It's so stupid. There are a lot of guys that like bigger women, like a lot. Like a lot. I knew a guy and he was this like, you know, super attractive guy, you know, built very athletic, very charming, and he fucking exclusively dated bigger girls. Girls with like a big ass. I've known multiple people like this, but yeah. Anyways.
Such as yourself, treat them with intense disdain despite the fact that there is no absolute correlation between someone being fat and them over-consuming food or not exercising enough.
Nobody wants to be body positive. Like, nobody wants to be 400 pounds. It's fat and disgusting. They wanted to eat they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. In this case, literally, right? Now they can...
Yeah, this man talks about obese people like a lot.
just take Ozempic and lose weight, and they don't need to be body positive anymore because they're weight negative. They're trans fat. Yes, exactly. It takes hunger away, but also it also kickstarts many other symptoms in your body. Well, I don't know exactly how any of that stuff works. Okay, like I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying that you should take Ozempic. Okay.
You might not be directly saying it, but calling people who are fat ugly and disgusting, and then presenting a solution to that without a full understanding of its consequences, is basically the entire reason body positivity exists. Because for years, advertisements, especially for fashion, would present a standard of beauty that was unobtainable, and that would couple with the social expectations to create eating disorders.
None of these fat girls, if they could snap their fingers and be skinny, they would do it. Every single one of them would do it. But some of them want to act like they wouldn't because they never have the opportunity to. But you see with Ozempic that they were all lying.
Muslims in Germany want their kids to be able to wear headscarves in school. Asmon sees religious exemptions to rules about headwear as unfair overreach by people who should do more to assimilate.
If you have a school where you can only wear hats, then I think wearing headscarves is okay. But if you're wearing a headscarf, you should also be able to wear a hat. There should never be a situation where a person's religion grants them extra privileges that other people do not have.
The obligation of assimilation comes with the understanding that doing so would create acceptance.
Just because you have a religious reason to wear something doesn't mean that the entire world has to accommodate it, right?
And since that even trade doesn't happen, I see no reason to not be accommodating where it creates the least harm.
And you're coming in there with something on your head, well, you're breaking the rule. I don't give a fuck about your religion. Nobody cares.
Okay, but you do, because the point of contention is conformity and assimilation.
If you don't like it, go the fuck back to where you came from and then go live over there.
There are always questions to be resolved when a group integrates into another, but drawing the line at they might get to wear something on their head when everyone else doesn't is insane, given, especially in Germany, this exemption isn't just for immigrants, it's for the people who live in the country as well, and it's not exclusive to Muslims.
That's why I'm 50-50 about how Chinese deal with Muslims. It's harsh, but it works. Well, it's not about dealing with Muslims. What the fuck does that have to do with Muslims?
Again, Asmon ignores racism from his chat. During this, Asmon is asked whether doctors should get religious exemptions for procedures they don't want to perform.
It's not tricky at all. You shouldn't be compelling a doctor to do anything that goes against their own morality. So whether that is an abortion, whether that is something else, obviously a doctor should not have to do an abortion. A doctor should not have to do Botox. A doctor should not have to do plastic surgery.
When have doctors ever been forced to do abortions? Like, you don't need to get into that field of medicine specifically. Like, in what situation would there be a doctor who was trained on how to perform an abortion but was like religiously opposed to abortion? Like, when would that ever happen?
It's common sense, right?
Like, you have to be a specialist, right? When the abortion doctor doesn't want to do an abortion, but don't you need to specialize in that? Like, you can't just have any licensed practitioner be expected to do abortions, right?
The state creates an expectation of a minimum standard of care that would be provided by a medical service or practitioner, and that service or
okay, never mind, he's going.
Practitioner refuses to provide it, leading to harm, then they are the ones doing something wrong. It is on the practitioners to opt out of providing the overall services if they are against the individual ones, because that creates the potential for greater undue harm to patients than if they were obligated to do them all, especially when you can simply opt into a specialization that doesn't include what you're against. A neurologist doesn't have to do heart surgery, but if you're a heart surgeon who doesn't believe in using animal grafts despite their efficacy, then it's up to you to decide whether heart surgery is for you.
You don't want to go and look at a graph or like some, you don't want to look at a study. All of these studies, everything like that, if it goes against your common sense and rationality, it's probably bullshit. I never trust studies. I never trust experts. I don't trust anybody. The thing that I trust is what I think. Now, if I see
certainly that's not true.
Something that I disagree with, and there's like things that are written down, and it's like, a quantified thing, I look at the reason why it's different. But
I mean, I'm sure this guy, whether conscious or not, trusts experts every day of his fucking life. But like the infrastructure that's in place in his town, the way that his house was built, But
at the same time, I don't start from the position that I'm wrong. I start from the position that I think I'm right. I have based everything in my life off of that, and I think that I have come to relatively good outcomes in my life. One thing that I've learned doing anything professionally is that the people that are experts and veterans in certain industries, and I think almost all industries, are generally brain dead retards.
People in specialized industries put the majority of their effort into that industry. That doesn't mean they're stupid, it just means that their other opinions are probably less informed. I'd trust Ben Carson to do brain surgery, but I would not trust him to be president.
Even doctors get shit wrong all the time.
Please trust your doctor. Thousands of people hurt themselves taking ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, and of the 1 million people who have died of COVID in the United States, it's estimated that over 300,000 who died would have lived if they got vaccinated.
And so you never, ever do that.
That's a fucking black pilling figure. Jesus.
Yeah. Always base things off of what you think.
And I don't want to talk to a scientist. Y'all motherfuckers lying and getting me pissed.
And if you can't do that, you need to figure out how to get your level of comprehension and your consciousness up to the point to where you can base things off of what you think.
Yeah, tell your parents you don't want to go to college with the experts. All you need are street smarts.
When would you listen to doctors? I don't know, like if I agreed with them. Yeah, if I agree with him, if I thought it made sense.
Once again,
this whole thing is like such a shtick, you know, like the whole thing is just such an obvious shtick. Like none of this is real, I don't think. I really don't think any of this is real.
Again, we get evidence that social media is frying Asmongold's brain.
Oh, God! No!
It's just a word.
No!
The Jews clearly control the media and the banks.
Oh, wow.
Banks.
This is my Instagram? I don't know. You guys want to hear what mine sounds like? Let's find out.
Hi, my fellow Labradors. It would be racist to not let the pit bulls in to join us.
That was the first scroll. That was a dog with a Jewish yarmulke on his head. Okay, so it took one.
Representative Stacey Plaskett was discovered to have been texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a 2019 congressional hearing.
That shit was weird.
Michael Cohen over his relationship with Donald Trump. Wildly stupid and unforced error, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
But somehow, when you're texting in class, oh, that's bad. What the fuck? This really doesn't help the idea that there are people controlling the government, and it's on both sides. On a certain level, it kind of makes sense. If you were looking for somebody to have in your corner that knows this stuff, it would be Jeffrey Epstein, right?
I was almost going to agree with Asmon before he said there's a secret group controlling the American government.
The left media has TDS, so they won't report on it and focus on it? I guess so, because they want to make it look like Jeffrey Epstein was a Republican thing.
Epstein was best friends with the current Republican president, who has worked very hard for most of the year to keep the Epstein files hidden, while every Democrat and every Republican except one voted to release the Epstein files. Asmongold asks and answers the age-old question. What is a woman?
This is a real response to what is a woman.
Asmon misunderstands the analogy of color being something that you cannot literally describe except as a psychological response, and decides to take that as a challenge.
Colorblindness is a disorder. So if you look at blue and you think that it's not blue, you have a disorder. If you apply that same logic and argumentation to gender.
Cool, being trans is a mental disorder.
It's not that trans people look down at their, let's say they're pre-op or they never had any kind of surgery or whatever. There's, they have the same sex organs. It's not that they look down, like a person with a penis looks down, a trans person with a penis looks down and says, oh, I have a vagina. Like that's not, that would be delusional. That would be legitimately delusional. That would be like diagnosable something. Gender is simply a kind of like identity expression. So it's obviously a much like completely different context as someone who can't see the color blue.
Even in those terms, the most effective treatment is still tolerance and acceptance. Also, in terms of that analogy, we provide services and systems that allow colorblind people to function in society on their terms, instead of forcing them to adapt to colors they can't see. We don't obligate social norms to what the average capacity of a person is. We create the means for everyone to participate, because that has always made things better for everyone.
I don't need to watch a YouTube video to figure out that there's two genders, okay? This is what I was talking about before, about like, oh, but there's a study that says this. No, I don't want to hear this study.
Unless someone of a particular sex presenting as another is such a severe transgression that rates of self-harm and suicidality are acceptable to you, pronouns in bio aren't that bad.
If you look at blue and you see another color, you have a disorder called colorblindness. If you look at a male and you see a female and you say that person has a disorder, now you're a right-wing Nazi.
Nobody is making the argument that trans people are literally changing their DNA and bone structure when they transition.
Okay. I feel like Conduit, I feel like you and me, we are one. You and I, we are of the same mind.
And they aren't asking other people to lie when addressing them by preferred pronouns, any more than someone who got married is asking someone to lie when their last name changes.
Chameleon, I'm 45 minutes behind. The hate on GLP-1 is so misguided. It's a fucking miracle for people on an individual basis and for our society as a whole. They're an incredible invention. Yeah, I agree.
How does that happen?
But hey, if you want to...
What do you mean? Because it's happened like, bro, so many times when I watch your videos, I'll pause, make a point, unpause, and then you make the exact same point.
An equal opportunity hater, here's another chance to get angry at a woman who went viral for claiming sexual assault.
Women get massively treated way better by the justice system than men do. It's not even remotely close. You want to talk about a privilege? That's a privilege.
Women are under greater risk of sexual assault and mistreatment in prison, as well as having more trouble receiving necessities for things like menstruation.
So this is a bureaucratic, bad faith Karen in action, weaponizing systems and different types of bureaucracy. This is how a Karen insulates itself inside of modern society. Everybody talks about like the Andrew Tate toxic male communities. This is the female equivalent to that, by the way. It's a bunch of dishonest, disingenuous, obnoxious, stupid women that get together, that hate men, that are liars, that try to manipulate situations, emotionally blackmail everybody, and put themselves in the position where they get to tell everybody else what to do.
No, this is someone on TikTok. They are not indicative of a broader trend or ideology. They are just a video that's gone viral for being rage bait that gets picked up by people looking for an excuse to be mad at women because social media algorithms seek engagement, which is honestly the most appropriate word for it because Asmon is married to this belief.
You want to talk about toxic male behavior, that's fine. I think there is some of that. This is toxic female behavior.
Okay, but you aren't talking about toxic male behavior. You're only talking about women.
And now we have the Karens going to jail. Oh my God! I am so happy.
To let you guys know, I really
wow.
The issue isn't that women can't be bad. It's that your audience doesn't make any distinction between the women who are Karens and the women who aren't. It's Karen until proven otherwise.
I love how she thinks that she matters. You're a DoorDash driver. If you died tomorrow, they wouldn't even do it. They wouldn't even know about it.
I could give you the statistics that show what the actual...
What a thing to say. Like, I wonder how many people in Asmon's audience in that moment is a DoorDash driver.
Like, success rate of false accusations of sexual assault are? But why should I try to counter an anecdotal claim like that? Show me in numbers how there are so many Karens Karening all over that it would justify labeling them as an enemy of America.
This is the enemy of America right here. It's not the Jews. It's not the black people. It's not the Middle East. It's not even all the Muslims. Optics-obsessed, virtue-signaling, obnoxious, privileged Karens that will import every problem from the rest of the world into America to and they will also manipulate, lie. That is the prime evil in America. Not Jews. A lot of people want it to be Jews, but I think this is the real problem. Do you hate women? No, but I hate women like her.
Oh, well, that certainly undoes saying that Karens are enemies of America. Hopefully you don't go into an explanation of why the Mexican protests you support all are right because there's no time to not be anti-Semitic while the government is corrupt.
And what if she is Jewish? Ooh, uh-oh. Puta Judea. I don't think that I need a translator for that one, okay, guys? I think I know exactly what that one means.
We've reached the final level of the horseshoe as Asmongold
what is this?
Excuses anti-Semitism because the people doing it don't have time to not be anti-Semitic.
People care about race. You might not like that. I might not like that, but it's true. And also, by the way, oh my God, the whole protest is anti-Semitic. Well, actually, okay, to be fair, I caught this. Guys, I think I know who's been watching all those Instagram reels.
Unironically, you have just figured out the problem I'm pointing to.
People don't give a shit about these like weird tone policing rules whenever they don't have any fucking food and they can't live in a way that has any degree of dignity. And many of the revolutionists are furious.
Does be done with $2. I don't think I like this Asmongold guy very much. I gotta say this content is not for me. I am not the prime demographic for this.
That a woman who is not a Catholic sorry.
Like, I genuinely and this always sounds so snobby. Maybe it is snobby. I'll just embrace it. But genuinely don't understand the appeal of this. Don't get it. Hot liberal guy plays COD. Wait, was I on the screen? Oh, this was during the Black Ops 7 launch weekend. Okay, we know exactly when they recorded this. Hot liberal guy plays COD. Let's go.
Curious that a woman who is not a Catholic, but you still got to live in it. They're a bitch Jew. Of course it's relevant. Yeah, of course it does.
Wait, what did he just say?
Sorry, these things matter to people. You might not like that reality, but you still got to live in it. They're a bitch Jew. Of course it's relevant. Yeah, of course it does.
Did he just say what I think he said? Jesus. No, I understand he's reading a comment, but Jesus.
Representation matters, right? Yeah, of course. Do you think people are going to call them anti-Semitic in the U.S.? They already are.
It's just horseshoes all the way down.
Yeah, I mean, this is just dark, you know? This is just dark. I agree. Somebody, who said that? Somebody said it got dark, I think. Maybe I invented that. But yeah, it's pretty fucking dark.
And you guessed it, more women on the internet are bad.
Ronaldo doesn't understand this maybe, but there's a bunch of fat, ugly, disgusting middle-aged women that are on social media. They want you to replace your audience of other young guys that like abrasive, edgy, funny, just general male humor.
We get it. You don't like it when mom tells you to go to bed.
These are the women that are in the PTA. They're in the they're in the HR department. They're the ones in the PR department. They're the ones complaining to your boss. They're the ones in the in the bureaucracy. This is what they do. They're the fucking school moms.
Oh my God. He admitted it!
Imagine me going on Twitter and some retarded hog says on social media, oh, you shouldn't say this. Shut the fuck up, bitch. You're gonna tell me what I can and can't say. Who the fuck are you? And it's also, I don't want to make people think it's all women doing this. Like, this isn't like a men versus women thing.
He says before.
What's happiness of a Karen? The happiness of a Karen is the same.
I'm still there. Hot liberal guy plays COD. That's embarrassing, actually.
Principle as of a vampire. And did this stupid bitch block me? I'll stop taking part in toxic politics whenever left-wing people stop calling you a Nazi or a Hitler or a fascist whenever you want to enforce immigration law.
Once again, the topic of misleading data about left-wing versus right-wing violence comes up. And a chatter actually calls Asmon out when he says he doesn't trust the government.
Riding hard for the government? What the fuck does that even mean?
It means that you're okay with blowing up Venezuelan boats without evidence, deporting people without evidence, cutting government programs that have showcased decades of benefits in international diplomacy and trade, and every other thing done by Donald Trump while declaring that he is completely innocent of any wrongdoing, despite being the closest person to Jeffrey Epstein amongst every person connected to him.
I think you choose what to trust. I do. Absolutely, I choose what to trust. You should try it sometime. It would help you.
Help has a very loose definition here. Hassan in China.
The problem with what Hassan is saying is that I very strongly agree with most of it, but I don't agree with part of it.
Once again, I am shocked that Asmon can accurately explain a concept. Not because I think he's dumb, but because you'd think it creates some cognitive dissonance.
I think he's right that the best antidote to xenophobia is experience. A lot of us have probably had that happen ourselves, where you met somebody from a country that you had a predisposition towards, like positive or negative, and that person changed your predisposition by talking with them. But at the same time, the actions of a government do not represent the will of its people necessarily, especially in countries like China, Russia, or apparently Mexico, right?
But then he's back to Eighth Amendment violations.
Can we just do lashings instead? No, I don't want to. I mean, okay, I think that there's a place for creative kinetic punishment.
Recruit trainee John Rico is sentenced to administrative punishment. 10 lashes.
You've got to really save that. That way it has a lot of, it has emphasis when it happens.
And while looking at a propaganda video of China's surveillance technology, Asmon mentions his perspective on police clearance rates and how the world combats terrorism.
I'm not sure about that. The murder solve rate's only 70%. If we had the surveillance in our home country, I feel like it'd be higher. No, it's not. Do you want to know why they don't solve a lot of cases? It's because they don't care.
Solving murders is actually really hard, and the reason you see people who commit heinous crimes getting caught isn't because Clarice spoke to him.
I don't even, what a thing to say. The reason why police don't solve a lot of murders is because they don't care. I don't even understand what that's even based on.
Hannibal. It's because the people who do those crimes are usually really stupid. CSI technology looks so advanced because of how intensive it needs to be to scrape information out of a crime scene, which is indicative of the difficulty.
Don't forget when they blew up all those blew up all the pagers and wiped out a terrorist organization in one day. They could stop all those terrorists. They choose not to. I also think that there is a degree of that that's true.
The pager attack, while impressive as an operation, did not wipe out Hezbollah. Israel is still bombing Lebanon because of Hezbollah activity.
I mean, I think this is badass. I'm going to be honest. This is crazy. And, like, we need to have this for some people that do things here, too. Like, I'm not saying I want a surveillance state, but
everything you've said you wanted the government to do requires a surveillance state.
I don't know if it's just where I live or not, but ever since that whole Epstein thing started getting popular, I've been seeing, like, way more lizards.
And then we go back to Mexico for a Fox News interview with these two right-wing nutjobs who do a podcast. And before you think I'm calling them right-wing nutjobs as a dismissive insult.
Concretamente estamos en guerra contra una familia que en la declaración de Balfour es la que fundó el Estado de Israel, que podemos hablar de eso, que es la familia Rothschild, ¿vale? Y esa familia concretamente nunca ha sido auditado su patrimonio. Entonces, Elon Musk tiene más ni de coña. O sea, ni de coña. Elon Musk no es la persona más rica del planeta ni la más poderosa, te lo puedo garantizar. Hay familias que tienen muchísimo más patrimonio, pero como no sabemos verdaderamente qué es lo que tienen y qué es lo que dejan de tener, porque han diversificado en esta estructura bursátil todo su poder y todo su monopolio, que lo tienen, ¿por qué más? O sea, llega un punto en el que ni en 25 millones de generaciones se pueden gastar lo que han amasado. Entonces yo digo, es que no puede ser solo el dinero, aquí tiene que haber algo más metafísico, tiene que haber algo más espiritual, tiene que haber algo mucho más profundo. Y ahí es donde entra el tema de vamos a juzgar qué es lo que ellos atacan siempre. Pues siempre atacan la moral católica, la moral cristiana.
Y Jota, dos puntos ahí muy interesantes. La parte del capitalismo, que tienes opiniones muy diferentes a lo que la gente común piensa acerca de, pero esta parte de Jesús, de Cristo, de los católicos, de esta guerra en contra del catolicismo. ¿Por qué crees que hay tanto odio en contra de Jesús? En contra del verdadero Dios.
Porque es lo que daría mayor poder a las personas para no ser controladas.
Did Fox even check what these guys talk about on their podcast?
I'm sure there's like a degree of partisan politics that's attached to everything, but this is primarily a identity revolt rather than a political revolt, which is insane.
Once again, Asmon misunderstands the capabilities of the U.S. military.
If you put experienced Navy SEALs and generals that actually want to end this war, how long do you think it would take them to totally figure out, map out, and completely eliminate every single one of those people? I would say less than 6 months.
This is the exact same line of thinking that got the U.S. stuck in Iraq for over a decade.
It's at 2 weeks, yeah. I mean, come on, guys. What are we talking about?
And then Asmon says he'd support regime-changing Mexico if their police started shooting protesters.
Basically, regime changed their government. Which, I mean, by the way, I would support that. I would completely support that. There's no way that we should have a country that is a bordering country of ours that is a PvP server.
I can only speculate, but I think this belief is downstream of thinking that Venezuelan boats are okay to blow up as well.
What's the goal when they get through? You don't want to know. What do you think? What do you think happens? What do you think happens when they get through and they get to all the people in the government? 1, 2, 3. I know that one. This is something I didn't talk about.
Didn't he earlier in the video trivialize January 6th?
Yesterday? Is that the media
doesn't seem very consistent to me, but okay.
Is part of the Uniparty. And the Uniparty is the one thing that they are more afraid of than anything else is for identity politics.
This is why populism sucks, by the way. This is just populist brain rot.
Politics to die. And a protest like this is a protest.
The media is the part of the Uniparty. The very concept of the Uniparty in the United States is fucking absurd.
That transcends identity politics. Well, I think the BBC is a totally biased, completely partisan network. You shouldn't trust anything that they say. They're total bullshit and they're all liars.
Because Trump said,
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically.
See what I mean, Conduit? I don't know if you're still in here. You and me, we are one.
Make your voices heard.
In a speech that also included,
So, let's have trial by combat. We will never give up. We will never concede, because you'll never take back
What a crazy fucking year 2020 was.
our country with weakness.
I guess this was 2021.
You have to show strength and you have to be strong. We will not take it anymore. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
and the result was a group of people assaulting cops to force their way into a building, and based on your reaction to the rioting in Mexico...
That would explain my hairline. Just buzz it off, brother. Liberating.
They're January 6ing. I'm proud of them. They're January 6ing. What's the goal when they get through? What do you think happens when they get through and they get to all the people in the government?
You know what they wanted to do in there. Asmon's getting upset that they didn't include his one mention of being peaceful, not because they're biased, but because they didn't provide an excuse to exonerate him.
Why would you edit Trump's speech in that way? Well, it's because you're biased.
He talks about the Epstein files some more. It's nothing we haven't heard already.
Yeah, he's mentioned, but that doesn't mean that he did anything wrong. If it's a hoax, then just release it and show everybody that it's bullshit. Like, I don't even understand the logic here.
And while Marjorie Taylor Greene tries to pivot towards not being a Jewish space laser nut job, Asmon sees her as capitulating to the media and creating a permission structure for people to move away from the right. His phrasing is a little word salady. Maybe you get something different.
This is what mainstream media does, is they try to manufacture consensus by having a degree of, like, kind of, they created an ecosystem that allows them to manufacture consensus about different issues. And I think this is a good example of them doing that.
But the point is that he doesn't think the left will accept her because she used to be in the bag for Trump.
It doesn't matter how many apologies that you do. It doesn't matter anything. You will all...
I mean, you have people like Jenk trying to embrace her, but...
always be the Trump person. Like, the boats are burned. The bridge is burned. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he came up with manufacturing consensus on his own, or he heard manufacturing consent and thought it was that, maybe? I don't know.
Like, the problem is these people are, like, defined by purity testing. That you're not going to apologize to them and then have them vote for you.
It's not purity testing.
I mean, which party do you think is purity testing right now? The Democrats or the Republicans? I mean, there's been some purity testing on the left for quite some time, but right now there's one ultimate purity test in Republican Party politics, and that is complete obedience and loyalty to Trump. Like, that's the purity test, and it's more significant than anything you'll find in the Democratic Party right now.
Testing to say that someone who rode the wave of QAnon to get elected to Congress and harass school shooters needs to do more to show that they've had a change of heart. Not every judgment is based solely on in-group, out-group.
Trying to apologize and capitulate to Democrats or leftists will never work. It will never work, and it will only make people more frustrated with you.
To be clear, this messaging is what makes it so hard to reach people. The idea that you won't be accepted, so you might as well entrench yourself on one side regardless of what actually happens. If you agree with a lot of what someone like Kyle Kulinski wants for the country, then you aren't capitulating because the plans being put in place are still intended to go in the same direction you want, and your input will be appreciated. Being conservative isn't, in itself, a bad thing. Obviously, a lot of people on the far left on the internet have a maximalist view of things and say that you're immoral if you don't want to spend all of the money on all of the things, but they're taking hypotheticals too literally. We need people with reasonable expectations of budgetary, economic, and even social changes so that we can take time and use experimentation to get things right. But culture war nonsense has infected every debate and dialogue such that every possible point of negotiation becomes a hill to die on, and that has allowed more and more extreme people to get away with worse and worse things. If I told Asmongold 5 years ago that Trump was using the military to kill people in the middle of the ocean on the premise of them being terrorists without proper evidence, he would say that's bad. But now, if he doesn't defend that, then the rest of the defenses collapse. You can think that people knowingly trafficking drugs like fentanyl into the United States deserve to die on the spot, but you should be able to recognize that allowing the state to actually do that is an opening for much worse abuses of power. And when those abuses happen and they're defended, the abuses can once again get worse. At some point, you have to say that even though I'm not against what's happening, I don't want something worse to happen in its place.
I think that in
Can we say Asmon is a white supremacist yet? I mean, I wouldn't use that specific language.
2026, if they have the midterm elections.
The fact that you'll say if we still have elections is exactly why people take issue with your politics.
What's wrong? What's wrong, fat bitch?
It's just.
Oh no.
I drink what I want when I want.
So what is all this racist ass shit that you've been saying?
What the fuck? Only 10 were actually kids? Ugh. So that means they're going to end up being sent to a high school with kids and they're an adult?
Well, I mean,
Don't forget homophobic.
Oh, yeah.
Misogynistic.
Chance of success, number of women involved. Is this for video games?
I mean, misogyny, that's pretty explicit. Like, he's not even really particularly trying to hide that or dress it up as anything other than what it is.
No, it's for a relationship. Yeah, I would have agreed with it either way. Yeah, for everything? It seems that way, doesn't it?
Transphobic.
Trans people are like 0.6% of the population, but if you look at media representation, you'd think that they're like 10 or 20%.
What shows are you watching? What fucking shows is he watching? I almost never see trans people in shows.
Fatphobic.
You guys notice there aren't any fat people in this game?
Poor people.
And I would reduce foreign aid by about 80%. I would even take people that were residents of the country. If they were not net positive taxpayers and they were not performing an essential job, I'd deport them too. You know, there are just some things that you see that...
Somebody calls for slavery to come back. Yep, that's white nationalism. See, but I think he's doing the fucking irony thing here. Like, do you seriously think he wants slavery to come back? I don't think so. I think it's like he's playing a fucking heel. You know, it's like a WWF heel.
Really put things into perspective, don't they?
I think he does have genuine animosity towards women. That, to me, seems genuine.
One more dawn, one more day, one day more.
So, we need to make it too big to rig? That's a fact. Well, we thought we did that with Black Myth Wukong, but unfortunately, the Game Awards was using the 3/5 compromise, where Chinese players only count for 3/5 of a...
Keeps playing DMCA stuff.
No, obviously you don't need any food. Look at that. If you needed food, you wouldn't look like that.
Oh, now it makes sense.
Is he talking about jank here? Is he calling jank fat?
Body shaming? It's not body shaming, it's body accountability. Okay, you've got to be accountable for being a fat piece of shit.
Deja vu all over again.
Well, I already said that before.
I gotta wonder, like, does he get tired of doing this shtick? Does it ever get old internally for him? Is he gonna wake up one day and find himself in the middle of an existential crisis where he like questions his decisions? Like, I would just get so tired of doing the same fucking shtick every goddamn day. Like, even if I was making millions of dollars, straight up, like I would be miserable if I was doing a shtick every fucking day. It's just this low hanging fruit. Doubt it. He's a psycho. I don't think he's legitimately a psychopath. I think he knows his audience.
You win 9 wars and you suck 1 dick. I don't think it's going to be anything damaging for Trump that's going to come out. People say he's like a mob boss. Like, he probably would have edited the files or changed them or something like that. I don't think he would want to release the files if they would incriminate him to be a pedophile, right?
I need Asmon to square his approval of Trump with the recognition that he'd manipulate the documents that would...
It might be like a little bit of a Joker situation, you know? A Joker situation, like he feels compelled to play the villain and he enjoys playing the villain, but that's got to get old at some point. You know, the soul needs nourishing. Everybody's soul needs nourishing. You know, very few people are legit psychopaths. Dill Pickle with the primer. Thank you so much, buddy.
Would expose him as a pedophile, and that doing so would make the entire file release worthless because you wouldn't know what was legitimate and what was altered for the benefit of Trump or the people Trump would want to protect.
You know, we'll see what happens.
Oh my god, now Claudia Scheinbaum is a Karen because she doesn't want to send the Mexican military to fight the cartels.
Do you remember what I said yesterday about how a Karen mind has to exist inside of a bureaucracy? Like, a bureaucracy and the mind of a Karen are one and the same thing.
I mean, this is essentially what Bukele did. Is that how you say his name? Bukele? In El Salvador. And I mean, that guy's a fucking fascist.
This is it. So let me get this straight. Because the law says you can't go after the people that are causing problems, then I guess we just have to let the people cause problems. No, you change the law or you ignore it. If you have a rule and
or you act within the confines of the law, you know,
the rule leads you to chaos, what reason do you have the rule for?
Because we're not all Anton Chigurh thinking in absolutes about a coin toss dictating life and death.
Never actually give a fuck about rules, guys. Like, every rule can be changed. Every rule was written by a council of old geriatric retards. Obviously, you have to follow the law as an individual citizen, but whenever you're talking about like how to change your country and how to improve your country,
how do you reconcile this with his opinion that we need to bring back like overly punitive measures, like public executions, you know, work camps for various transgressions? How do you reconcile that? You're saying these laws are so, these rules are so important that you should bring back these insanely punitive measures, but also don't follow the rules. Like, this is all just chaos. Like, I don't know, like there's nothing, like, I have no fucking idea what he actually believes in, what he actually believes. Like, what are his like foundational principles?
You should not look at the existing rules and say, well, that's as far as we can go.
Does he realize this perspective completely undoes literally every argument that he's made about immigration?
It just happened, like, again. I'm telling you, me and Conduit we were separated at birth. I did not pre-watch this. It's 2.5 hours. How am I going to pre-watch this?
That isn't justified by cultural bias.
Your chat became anti-Semitic as fuck? Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like Jewish people. And they don't like Israel, and she's a Jew. That's true. Like, in an unmoderated...
Just very casual.
Platform, that's what happens. I don't agree with that. I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't even really like... I don't like what Israel's government's doing. I think Israel's government's problematic in a lot of ways. But if you want me to go around and like ban every single person that said something that you might see as anti-Semitic, that's just not going to happen. Like, if you think they're saying something bad, just report them. And the crazy stuff does get banned. I don't want to...
Would he ban people for like anti-white rhetoric? I don't even know. Like, that's an open question, not rhetorical.
Hear this? I don't care about this. The words mean nothing to me, okay? Like, don't waste my fucking time.
You're not personally anti-Semitic, but you're not willing to actually do anything about anti-Semitism within your sphere.
Yes, that's right. So if you kill the people that are being violent, then you're just going to have more violence. No? So at first they came for the cartels, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't part of the cartels. And after that, they came after the drug dealers and murderers, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a drug dealer and murderer. And then after that, they stopped coming for people because the problems went away.
You have completely missed the point. And also,
yes, I was thinking that. God damn it. Fuck. I was thinking that exact thing. Way to entirely miss the point. I mean, you came to the opposite conclusion.
So that was anti-Semitic, so good job. Why do I need to explain that it's actually much harder to deal with people who have guns than just throwing the military at them?
Like, we have like a constitution and rules to prevent regimes from just, you know, arbitrarily detaining people. And if you just get rid of those rules, all it takes is the next, you know, tyrant to use the state. If you're just going to ignore the Constitution, just use the state to punish perceived enemies.
There's a real human cost to these choices, and that we should be wary of leaders who are so enthusiastic about their willingness to throw people in the meat grinder just because overall you have more to expend.
Oh, by the way, fascism is when the government is controlled by a paramilitary organization that kills people extrajudicially.
That is not what fascism is. More hating women.
That's right, you stupid bitch. Get out of here.
Actually, you know what? Let me give you a rundown. Wikipedia says fascism is characterized by support for a dictatorial leader.
I don't think it's going to be anything damaging for Trump that's going to come out.
Centralized autocracy.
Hire 250,000 government workers overall. Nobody fucking critical.
Good. It should have been more.
Militarism.
Because it's the right thing to do. It is. Absolutely. Blow up the boats.
Forcible suppression of opposition.
Does Asmongold have siblings? I'm just wondering if he has like a sister. That's the question I'm curious about right now.
I have a fucking, like a directive, a mandate by God, okay? To get rid of as much of this woke millennial slop that I possibly can. And that's why I do it, by the way. I do it because I know it bothers them. It upsets them and it bothers them and it scares them. And I will continue doing it until they stop doing the things that I don't like.
Belief in a natural social hierarchy.
I would even take people that were residents of the country, if they were not net positive taxpayers and they were not performing an essential job, I'd deport them too. And so guys should have a complete monopoly on making games? Yes.
Subordination of individual interests for the perceived interest of the nation or race.
I would want to use the military to deport every illegal alien in the country. I would want to bring back insane asylums and put crazy people in insane asylums. So just put them in jail. Simple.
And strong regimentation of society and the economy.
And if girls want to make games, they should make their own games. You have Stardew Valley. You have Animal Crossing. You have Pokemon.
Opposed to more left-wing ideologies such as democracy.
I'm a fascist, but ironically, it's like what it boils down to.
I think that in 2026, if they have the midterm elections...
Britannica says the characteristics are extreme militaristic nationalism.
Not in the Western Hemisphere, not in our backyard, because that destabilizes trade, it destabilizes economies. It's the security of the United States at stake here.
Contempt for electoral democracy.
They're January 6ing, I'm proud of them. They're January 6ing?
A belief in a natural social hierarchy and the rule of elites.
Elon Musk took over Twitter, fired 80% of the staff, and nothing changed to the product. In fact, I think the product got better.
And a desire to create a German word that I'm not going to try pronouncing.
If you have a rule, and the rule leads you to chaos, what reason do you have the rule for? And now we have the Karens going to jail. Oh my God!
Webster's defines fascism as a populist political philosophy, movement, or regime.
And so you never, ever, ever do that. Always base things off of what you think.
That exalts nation and often race above the individual.
Then why the fuck do we keep importing people?
That is associated with a centralized autocratic government.
Because the law says you can't go after the people that are causing problems, then I guess we just have to let the people cause problems. No, you change the law or you ignore it.
Headed by a dictatorial leader.
And do you not feel bad for telling people to vote for him? No. No, he's done a lot of things that I agree with.
And that is characterized by severe economic and social regimentation and by forcible suppression of opposition.
And people like this, in my opinion, they need to be put in a mental institution and just kept there until they stop being crazy or they die. I don't know, either one. But yeah, it's not.
And even if you take all of those as left-wing biased shills, Conservapedia says that the characteristics of fascism include a belief that the state is more important than the individual.
So the U.S. government can read a license plate with a satellite, but you think that a Twitter post that said that the people were innocent is more accurate than that.
A leaning towards authoritarian government and violence.
If you steal from a store, instant mandatory prison time. Even if you stole.
Preference for centralized economic planning.
And if they don't want to get along with that, then I wouldn't give them access to the American economy and I would heavily tariff them.
An emphasis on nationalism and national traditions.
And you're coming in there with something on your head, well, you're breaking the rule. I don't give a fuck about your religion. Nobody cares. If you don't like it, go the fuck back to where you came from and then go live over there.
Militarism.
If you put experienced Navy SEALs and generals that actually want to end this war, how long do you think it would take them to totally figure out, map out, and completely eliminate every single one of those people? I would say less than 6 months.
Information control and censorship.
If it's a hoax, then just release it and show everybody that it's bullshit.
Media propagation of the great leader, which demonizes and trivializes his critics.
If you are intentionally redacting a name that was previously unredacted publicly, you're doing that because you're trying to mislead people.
And a rejection of both free enterprise and socialism in favor of corporatist economic policies.
Good. They weren't doing their job.
The characteristics of fascism also include rampant cronyism and corruption.
Yeah, he's mentioned, but that doesn't mean that he did anything wrong.
As well as rigged elections.
If they have the midterm elections.
And a general disdain for free speech and human rights.
A human rights violation. According to who? Somebody who disagrees with you? Oh, okay. Well, let's just listen to them tell you why you're wrong. No, I don't think so.
Fascism has several tenets to it, with enough fluidity between them that no pillar is truly central until it needs to be, and then it can be replaced with another depending on what is necessary at the time to placate the masses. You might have once heard that fascism needs an enemy that is simultaneously strong enough to negatively affect your life, but weak enough that it can be easily fought and defeated.
This is the enemy of America right here.
This is the means by which that enemy is created, and the populace is held in a constant state of war against them. When a pillar is moved, so too is the definition of the enemy.
We need to start looking at people that are crazy, and we need to put all of the crazy people in a box that says mental institution, and we just keep them there. And then everybody else can live in paradise.
We just need to keep women out of things that I don't like.
Yes.
strictly enforced a law on immigrants and the mentally ill, which includes queer people.
Yeah, it's too brutal. We'll make them do big rocks and little rocks. Well, yeah, I don't think we should kill them. I don't think so at all. It's a waste of labor.
Bully people into conformity.
It was a psyop by fat women to make their body types seen as attractive in the public eye.
Lie when it benefits you.
Lie on your resume. Lie in your interview. Lie in your tutorial. Lie while you're doing your job. And the only time you don't do that is if it's against the law. Terrible advice.
Which you just said a minute ago, who gives a fuck about the rules? Like, this is like, obviously fucking completely incoherent. Daz Vidania with $5. What if Asmongold is more effective funnel for young men into fascism than Fuentes is? Or if Asmon is a conduit pun to Fuentes and fascism? I mean, watching this video, I think like makes that claim pretty compelling.
Worked for me.
Don't trust the decadent elite.
One thing that I've learned doing anything professionally is that the people that are experts and veterans in certain industries, and I think almost all industries, are generally brain dead retards.
Embrace the traditional level of anti-Semitism.
If they want to unban Sneeko, I'd be fine with that. I like Sneeko. I think he's a great guy. I don't agree with everything he says, obviously.
Down with the Yahud! Down with the Yahud!
So, yeah, I think they should unban him. Why wouldn't they? It's been driving me fucking crazy.
Was the internet a mistake? Was the whole thing a fucking big mistake?
Because I just keep forgetting about it. And...
Wait!
Magnify!
Yeah, Asmongold has been... We got to do a stream. Does he want me to reach out to him?
I don't know if Twitch is ready for that one yet. Now, I will say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You're just making this up because you don't want somebody that you disagree with to be on the fucking computer, right?
You're saying that Hitler was not a bad guy?
If we're going to say Hitler bad, then I'm going to say Churchill bad, and I'm going to say Roosevelt bad, and I'm going to say they're all bad. But if we look at him as a product of his time in that moment...
I think loving Hitler is bad. Absolutely, it's bad.
Support conspiracy theories.
Somebody else is running our government. Who?
Fucking based. Absolutely 100% true. I completely agree with him. Absolutely.
I mean, the answer seems to be clear. There's no question Epstein was working with Israel.
Israel was gaining a benefit from him, but I think it could be possible that Epstein could have been an unwilling participant.
Ignore the law so we can kill all the people who are causing problems.
Never actually give a fuck about rules, guys. Like, every rule can be changed. Every rule was written by a council of old geriatric retards.
And then society will be perfect. Why does Asmon take offense to being called a fat?
Old geriatric feels a bit redundant.
Fascist. In the 1 week I've watched him, hell, just today, he has endorsed every core aspect of the ideology.
And we just keep them there. And then everybody else could live in paradise.
Also, why does the "and then we would have paradise" line sound so familiar?
No, it's not women. No, it's not blacks. It's actually really complicated. No, it fucking isn't at all. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. And we would live in paradise.
He's saying the same thing Nick Fuentes said.
Everybody else is going to be... everything in the world is going to instantly get better. The whole world is going to improve instantaneously. We just put all the crazy people in a box, and then everybody else can go do what they want. And now I get this. I get this. I don't even know what that is. It's a bigger number. A yeller. Oh, wow. XQC says Asmongold has been pretty unhinged the last few months and calls his chat pretty radical. Maybe I take it a little bit too far sometimes. And I generally don't really explain what I think, because I think that in doing so, you capitulate to people that are bad actors. Like, I think anybody going out there saying...
I mean, he just like spells it out. This is the whole irony thing that I'm talking about. You can fall back on that. Like, and I think that's what he's doing here. Like, he's kind of doing this whole vibe where it's like, yeah, you know, I ham it up a little bit. But you can bend that this way or that depending on the context and depending on whatever you need in that moment. You can run cover for yourself, or you can fully embrace stuff.
Some crazy genocidal mass murder person is good. I think that, yeah, you should probably get suspended for that. Again, like I take somebody like him saying something like this about me, like actually seriously, and I'll think about it. rather than, you know, like a Reddit thread or like a tweet or something like that, especially from somebody that I know doesn't even like me, doesn't even know me, right? And so that's it.
When Mel Brooks took his script for the producers to his producer, they were initially very concerned about making a satire of Adolf Hitler, even if it was in the context of characters in the story trying to be offensive on purpose.
Because they said Hitler is too strong, too menacing. How about springtime for Mussolini?
This was 1966, and memories of the Holocaust were still fresh in the minds of people who had been liberated from the camps, as well as the soldiers who did the liberating. To make light of this was to make light of their trauma, and Hitler was the personification of it. But Mel pushed on and said it had to be Hitler, because he understood something they didn't, that the joke he was making wasn't at the expense of the audience. He wasn't really trying to make a joke at all, he was trying to reveal one. In The Producers, the characters are trying to put on a sincere performance of a show that glorifies Hitler, actual Nazi propaganda, but a last-minute substitution of the actor who plays the Fuhrer himself with the, cross-dressing director they hired for the play meant that instead of a serious performance, they got a whimsical one.
I leave you, baby, I leave you. Now leave me alone.
And that one change completely upends the context. It reveals the extent of the pageantry and the absurdity that made the Nazis' propaganda so effective. It was the very fact itself that you couldn't make fun of them that gave them power. All the performances of strength they used to build themselves up were built on the fact that it all had the implicit threat of violence behind it.
Thelonious, you were saying?
The more absurd it was, the greater the strength it conveyed. And once the threat was removed, all that was left was the insecurity that comes with telling people not to laugh at you.
I got you, King. I got you. Gaia, please!
Get down.
The Fuhrer had no clothes. Stop me if you've heard this one. A man goes...
Oh, you're really bringing it home at the end here. Wow. I do like your writing. Austin with $10. I know it might be wishful thinking, but I think that when Trump is gone, people are going to quickly get tired of Asmon and people like him. This is all a byproduct of Trump being crazy. I don't know. I think there's always going to be a demand for this kind of thing. I think there is always going to be a market for this kind of thing. But I mean, I feel like we're already seeing it a little bit. I feel like we're already seeing Asmon be more openly critical of Trump because he can see what's going on. Like he can see which way the winds are blowing. That's why part of this feels a bit grifty to me.
Goes to the doctor, says he's depressed. Life isn't worth living anymore. The doctor says the cure is simple. Go see the great clown Pagliacci. The man bursts into tears. He says, but doctor, I am Pagliacci. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and a lot of pain. And
it's so appropriate too that you put Rorschach on the screen, because like a big criticism of Zack Snyder. I'm sorry to interrupt this. I'll rewind it a little bit, but a big criticism that if not for Zack Snyder himself, but for like the fandom for the Watchmen, is that they glorified Rorschach, and Rorschach in the graphic novel is he's a fascist. Like he's a fucking fascist. He's not meant to be glorified. And Zack Snyder just made him just fucking super badass, and, you know, almost made him like the protagonist of that movie.
There's a lot on Pagliacci. The man bursts into tears. He says, but doctor, I am Pagliacci. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and a lot of pain. And there's a lot of anxiety. And the anxiety entrenches all the rest because it tells you that change is impossible, that being happy is perpetually out of reach, that other people will reject you. So you reject them first. You accept the labels put on you as a badge of honor, because at least then it's on your own terms.
No, I am a Mongoloid.
That's not something to be proud of.
It is something to be proud of. You want to talk racism? I can be way more racist than you, Angloid.
Maybe Asmongold is happy in the way he lives his life, but his presentation as someone who's happy is is why he's so popular. For some, he's the clown, unaware that people are laughing at him.
Has it ever occurred to you that maybe the research was done in a way that was bad?
And for others, he's the aspiration. Instead of needing to change, you can simply learn to not care what people think.
You get all these strings attached to you, bro. And you get enough strings attached to you and you become a puppet.
But no one is truly capable of doing that because we see other people as what they present and we see ourselves as what we feel. That's what self-talk is built out of. Your inner monologue uses the face of someone else to speak, but it uses your voice. If you're worried someone else will laugh at you, that's because you think something is worth making fun of.
You just going from stupid town?
And that makes people put up their guard and reject vulnerability and deny themselves what they feel and what would make them happy. It's easier to be numb than it is to be sad, but really,
We're getting fucking deep with this one, guys. Jesus, we're learning profound life lessons at the end of this.
Stupid town?
And that makes people put up their guard and reject vulnerability and deny themselves what they feel and what would make them happy. It's easier to be numb than it is to be sad, but really, you aren't numb because all that pressure you need to push down those feelings just makes them that much more forceful.
I'm a nice, easygoing man. I might be a little bit indecisive at times.
Lashing out at perceived slights, looking for some justification to allow yourself to embrace the negativity. The Sopranos was a show all about how Tony was constantly pushing down his feelings in order to force himself into the idea of who he wanted to be and how miserable it made him as a result. Breaking Bad is the same. So is practically every Martin Scorsese movie. We make ourselves miserable because we try to fit ourselves into other people's molds. And the more warped it makes us, the more we squeeze to try and fit. And so, like Asmon said about conspiracies, you feel worse, and so you put up more defenses, and that makes you feel even worse, so you put up even more.
And now you have an audience, like add on top of that, having an audience of millions that are validating these destructive impulses. That adds a whole other layer to it.
And eventually, you're sitting alone, constantly needing to justify to yourself that this is okay, because everyone else is terrible anyway. And at that point, the solution shifts from putting up more guards yourself to getting everyone else to put up their own.
Solid pop culture reference on that one.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Women are Karens, immigrants are criminals, woke is trying to take over. I've talked about horseshoe theory throughout all of this, and this is the true point of connection, a desire to have the world conform to your standard so that everyone has the same guards up.
Pretty soon, everyone will embrace sadness, and there'll be no such thing as smiling!
In a moment where Asmon tries to put forward the idea that people who commit
What did Mike say here? More evidence that Groypers, followers of Nick Fuentes, used Bella Ciao as an in-group meme prior to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Nick Fuentes is the leader of a far-right group, the Groypers, who declared a Groyper war on Charlie Kirk. Oh, he was... Okay, I see.
So that everyone has the same guards up.
He was doing the whole Tyler Robinson is a Groyper thing. Remember that speculation? That was like 2 hours of like, oh, that could be, but that was quickly dispelled.
Pretty soon, everyone will embrace sadness, and there'll be no such thing as smiling!
In a moment where Asmon tries to put forward the idea that people who commit political violence can't be judged on the politics because they're acting in a way that's crazy, he manages to touch on the issue I'm talking about.
Like, you shouldn't be looking at what they're saying and trying to blame this on a political party. Yeah, obviously, like, you can talk about how political parties, like, enable violence and certain types of rhetoric, etc. And their mindset it is so far removed from what an average person believes or thinks or behaves. So you trying to use logic to reverse engineer their thinking won't work because they didn't use logic to get there in the first place.
Asmon's touching on the idea that you can't rational someone out of an idea they got to irrationally. I don't think that's necessarily a universal truth, but I do think this is an awareness you need to have about yourself and your own understanding of how you come to certain conclusions. The fundamental issue Asmon misses here is that the rhetoric and political ideology are what create the thought process in people capable of committing violence. It's not that they couldn't find other excuses, it's that the ideology and the rhetoric are how people come to conclusions about how to live and how to act.
Yes. Yes. This is so true. Sometimes people come to certain like belief systems as a result of the language that they use. There's a phrase for this. It's something like the law of speaking or something like that. Talk about this in recovery. Like Orwell touched on it too, a bit in like 1984 about like the power of rhetoric, you know, like to you know, force conformity or enforce like There's a few Orwellian terms that touch on this. The power of the dialectic.
Act. Someone who isn't a Nazi wouldn't necessarily believe that it's heroic to sacrifice yourself in a blaze of glory for a cause dedicated to racial superiority, but when you're a Nazi, that's the goal. Politicians and pundits provide the means by which we can turn the inscrutable feelings we have about the world into something we can put words to. Some people will find themselves attracted to certain ideas and descriptions that satisfy certain feelings at the expense of others, and the result is that they won't ever be able to deal with the underlying problems they have, creating the frustration that leads to stronger outbursts.
Some people find Jesus, some people find Alex Jones, some people find Antifa.
Saying that someone's mental illness is the main culprit is thought terminating. It allows you to justify and hold on to a way of thinking that continues to ignore deeper problems you might have, instead of trying to reconcile what it is about your ideology that could drive people in that direction.
Research doesn't lie, Jenna, and lets us know what we're thinking. What's too boring, what's too gay, what's too old.
The most common belief in the people who commit violent political acts is that they are ultimately saving people. The white supremacists think they're saving vulnerable white people from racial domination, the extremists on the far left think they're saving vulnerable people from their own persecution, and everyone thinks at some level that the Jews are behind it all. Ultimately, in both cases, these actions are about satisfying those surface level feelings at the expense of the deeper ones.
At least I can deal with my own problems, unlike some I know.
And the endless analysis we get of what motivation people have are in turn about soothing that denial in everyone who will, in some way, do the same thing without the violent tendencies. But it is the ideologies on the right that put more focus on the idea of committing this kind of violence, that there is glory in the fight, and that blood and honor are the most important things.
And we fight. We fight like hell. And
I think I slightly disagree with that, because I do think that there's a romanticization, is that how you say that, of political violence on the far left. It's just that their numbers pale in comparison to the far right. Like the far right in the US is just 10, 20, 50 times bigger.
if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
This is a story about big, hairy, muscular men killing each other and dying for honor, glory, tradition.
And while we can find the fictional narratives that explore these beliefs fun, we have to recognize that when they're brought into the real world, they're destructive to how we interact with one another.
What even is the far left nowadays? When I say far left, I mean like Marxists, socialists, Marxist-Leninists. Like I'm talking about like, maybe we could define it by saying like people that want to like straight up end capitalism. Not social democrats. I mean, tankies are a part of it, but like people that want to end capitalism and replace it with some kind of like Marxist system. You know, that's like a big umbrella that can be a lot of different things, I guess. But
in truth, it's a way to force people to feel the way you do. And there are people who will take advantage of that. I think. And
those people absolutely glorify violence. They constantly, they talk about the like a violent revolution in the same way that, this is not an original thought. I got this from somebody. I don't remember who I got it from, but they talk about the revolution like evangelicals talk about rapture. It's always just like, you know, they use terms like, even stuff like using language like late stage capitalism. That is a concept that plays into this notion of, it's like Hale Bob's Comet, you know? It's like these cult leaders who prophesy some kind of event happening in the future. And when you use like late stage capitalism, it's meant to reinforce this idea of like, oh, the end is nigh. The end of capitalism is nigh. It's coming any day now.
Big, hairy, muscular men killing each other and dying for honor, glory, tradition.
And while we can find the fictional narratives that explore these beliefs fun, we have to recognize that when they're brought into the real world, they're destructive to how we interact with one another. In truth, it's a way to force people to feel the way you do, and there are people who will take advantage of that. I think that's the biggest irony here. Every claim about Karen's Asmon has made is one that he himself has endorsed, but on his terms.
This is bad. I am so fucking upset, and these retards are sitting here making these award shows for other retards, and it's making me mad. They never get challenged to actually improve themselves on a personal level. They just get a fucking vicious cycle of learned helplessness.
His chat even does the same practice of overqualifying questions as sincere to avoid making Asmon mad. I've been there. It sucks, but it's a choice. And though Asmon would say that I'm calling it a choice because I want you to choose differently, I'm really telling you that I want it to be your decision. Whether you stay the same or you try something different, you should do it on your own terms, and not because of what someone else tells you is the right way to be. If you think the world will judge you for it, think about whether it's really what the world thinks, or if it's what you're afraid of the world thinking. It might feel safe to have a wall between you and everyone else, but if the person you don't want to spend time with is yourself, all you've done is build your own trap. Not caring what people think comes from accepting the vulnerability of others so that they can accept the vulnerability of you. It's an act of trust. And all Asmongold has really taught me over the course of this week is that he doesn't trust anyone.
I never trust studies. I never trust experts. I don't trust anybody. The thing that I trust is what I think. All of these different media companies, they are all biased. None of them should be trusted. The only people you should trust are individual YouTube creators, and even them you should take with a massive grain of salt.
What? Was he trolling right there?
Even including me.
He wants you to feel like you can't laugh at the
That is the worst fucking possible advice I could conceive of. In 2025, the only people you should trust is individual YouTube creators. Like, is that a troll? He's got to be trolling there.
Performance. But I can tell you, looking in from outside, there's nothing worth being afraid of.
If you can't be happy by yourself and you can't be happy by just simply living your life normally, then the problem isn't really with the world, it's with you. And I think that if you can listen to yourself and you can take part in things that you enjoy and you're not doing it for somebody else or for some other reason, you can end up being a happy person. There are people who can find the bad in the good, and there are people who can find the good in the bad. And I think that if you're around a person that finds bad things inside of good things, that is like the closest that you can be to a vampire in your entire life. They are toxic, awful, obnoxious, exhausting, tiresome, annoying, just shitty people, right? They are
just said without a hint of self-awareness, some sense of how that might apply to him and his rhetoric.
Energy vampires. The moment that you think about something else making you happy or somebody else making you happy or something like that, you have already lost the game. You have to base that off of what you want and what you want to do. That's the only thing that matters. But I think at a certain point, people don't want to take accountability for themselves in their own situation, and they want to look at some external factor and then try to blame that instead. Happiness is a state of lying to yourself that life has no meaning. Well,
that's like the basis for his entire political philosophy, seemingly.
I don't know, like, I mean, for themselves in their own situation, and they want to look at some external factor and then try to blame that instead. Happiness is a state of lying to yourself that life has no meaning. Well, I don't know, like, I mean, happiness to me is getting a bag of beef jerky. Happiness to me is finishing a stream and being able to lay down in my nice bed and, you know, I can just relax. Basically, I think everything has to come from within yourself. And if you don't do that, you've got a lot of problems. I could go back and forth about it over and over.
Huh? What did he just say?
And, you know, I can just relax. Basically, I think everything has to come from within yourself. And if you don't do that, you've got a lot of problems. I could go.
Everything has to come from within yourself. And if you don't do that, you're going to have a lot of problems. That's like the inverse of those kind of cringe bumper stickers that you see in Northern California from like hippie Gen X people. I don't even know what that means. Like I'm trying to be as charitable as possible and just like understand what he's trying to say with that.
Being able to lay down in my nice bed and, you know, I can just relax. Basically, I think everything has to come from within yourself. And if you don't do that, you've got a lot of problems. I could go back and forth about it over and over, but that's basically what I'm saying, okay? Yeah, that's about it. How many soda?
I mean, I personally, you know.
Cups? I don't know, like a lot. Anyway, guys, yeah, I'm gonna do this and, actually, I'll be right back.
First of all, great video. Once again, just another banger. Just really good job, man. That was great. That was really great. I feel like you are coming into your own, and I feel like you're definitely I feel a kind of confidence building in your craft. Like, first of all, you're doing something that nobody else is doing it in this kind of way. Like React content, I mean, you're essentially doing React content, but you're expanding on it and like finding a way to kind of do something new and novel within that kind of internet niche. So that's cool, like innovative. But it kind of feels like you're becoming more comfortable in your craft, which is cool. Which is really cool. And you're dropping some crazy bombs on me at the end there. You're getting into like deep philosophical existential questions. Where did that come from? I don't know, but I liked it. The idea of like everything that you do needs to come from within yourself. Like, I don't know. I totally reject that notion. I think that's nonsense. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the opposite. I think, for the most part, it feels like this is something that is intrinsic to human beings. And, you know, maybe to an extent also with like other species, but speaking to the human condition, I feel like human connection is so important to existence. Even if you're introverted, I feel like it's really important that human beings connect with other human beings in a meaningful way. And all of the best shit that I've gotten in my life, like I'm, you know, spoiler alert, but I'm not a perfect human being, a flawed human being, but I've learned a lot of, I would say, pretty important life lessons, lessons that served me well at the age of 42. And none of that shit came from in me. Like I didn't just come up with this shit. People taught me these lessons, or like the universe taught me these lessons, but all of the good shit that I have, I got from other people. I got from my human connections that I have. I don't know if any of us have original thoughts. Maybe like Tom York has original thoughts, but you know, kind of not really. My emotional reaction to that video of watching Asmon was kind of sadness. Just made me kind of sad, not triggered, not angry. I find the whole shtick to be just so uninspired, unoriginal, and boring. So it just, you can't possibly upset me with that kind of a approach to things. I just find it boring. I just find it thoroughly uninteresting, wholly undeserving of, I was going to say extensive commentary, but then, you know, you did a 2.5 hour video and I don't want to undermine that, but I just find it very boring. And then, you know, at the end of the day, what are you looking at? Like, what are you actually watching when you watch that content? And it's just like, I question how much like genuine human connections he has. That's where my mind goes. I don't want to be too presumptuous, but I don't know how many like human connections he's like nourishing on the daily. The feeling is pity, Hutch. I wouldn't quite say pity. I wouldn't quite say pity, but a little bit of sadness. Yeah. I think the whole time I was watching that, I just felt like, man, I mean, I'm sure it's nice to have all that money. It doesn't really seem like he spends a lot of money. Doesn't really seem like he goes out into the world and enjoys that money. Lord knows if I had that kind of money, I'd be taking a lot of trips. I'd be doing a lot of traveling. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, I mean, I never really thought of it that way. But like, yeah, I think a big part of this is something that Conduit pointed out in the video. I think a big part of his pitch is like he's just like, a big part of his pitch or like a big part of his brand is like he's this happy guy, you know, like you don't need these other things to make you happy. But when I watch that and I listen to that language and that rhetoric and try to parse together what he actually believes in, I just find the whole thing fucking sad. You know, it's hard for me to imagine somebody saying the things that he does and having a lot of meaningful human connections. Hard for me to imagine that. Maybe I'm being a bit myopic.